Hey everybody, Ken Plume here with another edition of Just a Few Things, the show where I have a very special guest on, and we talk about their 6 objects that they possess that are very important to them. Could be anything. And speaking of something that's very specific and not could be anything, my guest is Norm Chan from Tested. You've been the guest on Force 5. You didn't remember it, but you've been the guest many years ago on Force 5. And a friend for, gosh, how long have we known? 15 years almost?
Oh, maybe closer to 10, at least 10.
It's been over 10.
Yeah.
It's been longer than that.
Oh my goodness.
Let's just
Where
say
does that time go?
Adam and Jamie were still together.
It's true. True. Yeah. Back, when they were touring through Atlanta at Dragon Con, it's where we first met up.
It's been a ridiculous amount of time. But it's great that we could have this little time together. So I presented the challenge to you. You accepted it. That you were going to cull through the many objects that you have. And this is entirely your determination on what is special to you. You could have used any metric. I have no idea. I don't know what you picked. This is going to be as much a surprise to me.
So this is a very problematic ask. In fact, like I was just telling my wife, like my collection, if I was to describe it to someone, it's grotesque because I love objects, working with Adam. I know, which is like, okay. I'm going to go on a lot of tangents. This is going to be a conversation of tangents. But I collect things. We collect a lot of similar things. And I've been really looking forward to this conversation because I don't have a lot of people to talk to about some of these things where our interests Venn diagram intersect. And I have some, internet communities I'm in, some that I'm in maybe far too often. But a couple of years ago, one of our friends, Kevin Kelly, who is one of the founding editors of Wired magazine, he's their kind of editor at large, editor emeritus now. But he puts out, he's kind of walks the earth. He's just like the kind of the sage of the tech world. But he puts out this like list of, or I guess it might have been for his 70th birthday. He put out like a list of the things he's learned in life. And like at the top of the list was something that resonated so much with me. And it was, no one cares about the things you have except you. And it made me take a step back and I'm like, it's so true. It's so true. I have all these things. My family doesn't care about them. They tolerate them. I care about them because for many of, and I want to have a conversation with you about this idea of collecting and what having objects means.
I do have a slight issue because I have had the same thoughts. And I think it's not that the people around us potentially do not care about the things, because we've gone through the belongings of others that maybe we've lost or we've known or that have been gifted to us from them, and we have different meanings attached to this object.
Yeah.
What is lost with us is the context for why they're important to us, even when you can talk to somebody about why it's important to you. It doesn't have the resonance that's attached to that context. So the thing that ultimately will be lost is that those objects can still be special. It could still be, these were my father's favorite lousy glasses. And I hate it. Who knows? But it's a special emotional attachment to them. Or he really liked this Godzilla toy that used to sit on his desk, and I saw it when I was growing up. And then, so that has a special resonance for me. I think the context is different. The object can still be meaningful and have an importance, but the thing that why I like having these conversations is that it's having someone, because very few times do you get to talk about context with people, even with your family and the people around you. It's just a thing that's there. It's just a thing that's there. They see. Sometimes they'll be there when you've got
introspective and personal, right? And that context, as much as someone may try to relay that, it's like telling someone your dream, the dream you just had, right? I had all these emotional connections and this strong feeling about this thing, and I'm just seeing the blank stares in their eyes. I'm showing them the latest thing I got, and it's like, oh, they don't want to hear about this. they really didn't want to hear about this.
But every object and what you're telling them is a story. Because then that's like saying that narrative is useless.
No, absolutely.
Or unrelatable. Like everything is a narrative.
And the frame...
it's how you decide to tell people that narrative.
And how I decided to choose these objects, right? So, there are things in my collection that, maybe I had some personal stories with it. I actually chose objects and I chose categories. I did a bit of a cheat. I chose objects that are representative of categories that I want to have a conversation with you about. And hopefully that's the context in which that your audience and you are going to find this most interesting.
Here's the great thing is, all I presented to you as a thing to do was just assemble these things. Whatever metric you decided was the thing that you were going to approach it. And I think that's, for me, the fascinating thing. And in talking with people that, either I've never talked to in depth before, or, we've had conversations before, is what framing you determine for these things.
One bit of context I want to establish first for people who might not know, what I do and what Tested is. I've been very lucky enough to be working on this channel, this platform that we've had for like 16 years now. So we started Tested 16 years ago as a technology website, as a not even a YouTube channel, but a place to cover the things places in technology that were interesting to Will and I, who started the channel. And then when we teamed up with Adam 14 years ago in 2012, which is insane to say, it really expanded to the channel covering all the things that interest us personally, which includes, things like technology, includes pop culture, includes aspects of science and maker culture. And so a lot of the things, and for me, the things that resonate most strongly, which is stuff that I cover on the channel, really is in that pop culture world. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about are echoes and of the experiences and the things and the objects I've encountered throughout this journey, the past 14 to 16 years, working in Tested. And it's opened a lot of doors to me. It's introduced me to so many people, introduced me not only to, things I would have been buying anyway, but the people who worked on those products and projects. And so that's the kind of baseline context I want to start off with. All right.
So in having that approach to the things that you encounter, is there anything that springs to mind, and it may not be something you've chosen, but I'm curious about this, that has become more resonant for you over the years because of the context you've been able to gain about it, either with those encounters, like stuff that just may have been in your collection, but because of the circumstances, you've encountered someone who worked on a thing or had special knowledge about the thing that made you go, oh, that is really special. This thing that was just something I had.
Yes. And I don't want to spoil too many of the categories that I'm going into, but one of the most, I will tease this to say, one of the categories of things I'm going to talk about, and maybe my deepest obsession, is 6-scale figures, the hot toys of the world, right? 1/6-12-inch tall representations of pop culture characters. And I'm on the forums. I'm on the communities. I'm following the latest releases, as deep as you could possibly go in that world. You would not believe. And it turns out that a fellow collector is also one of my favorite poster artists, and I did not know that. And the day I recognized his name, which I had been reading in a forum, and connected the dot to the name of a piece of art that I collected, that blew my mind. And so I can't look at his art the same way. I can't look at the toys the same way. And it's just so cool that, again, these dots were connected. So
and have you without spoiling, if this is a spoiler, we can wait for it.
Oh no, I haven't had a chance to meet him in person. I still admire his work from afar.
You haven't actually been able to have this conversation.
No,
directly.
I'm waiting for the right moment. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What moment are you waiting for?
the right convention to be at. The right in-person convention to be at.
So have you found that when it comes to conversations like that you're not an instigator, that you don't seek these things out, that you wait for it to just somehow circumstantially occur?
I mean, I want to respect the boundaries, and it's I want to enjoy. It's like as if you met your favorite actor in a toy form, right? They're probably there to talk about the thing that subject matter. Right. They don't want to then be bombarded about the other aspects of their career. I'm not going to fan out on them.
But that is legitimately a thing that you both enjoy. So you could have the conversation on just an entry point of bonding over, hey, also love your work, but let's talk toys. Let's talk about this thing that we both obviously mutually love because we're on these forums and we're talking about it all the time.
I'll wait for the right moment.
well, when you start the tested interview show where you start having guests on to talk about these things, that's it. You know what? I'm gonna put it forward. Well, we'll co-host it, so I'll be the one to be the one who does the outreach, and then you'll just be there going, "Oh, I'm glad this happened." I'm glad.
It's just gushing. Yes. Anyway, let's talk about some objects and categories. Yeah.
So you're going to choose what you do. This is entirely you're going to guide what you want, an object you want to go to first, what you want to go to after that. So you choose what you want to start off with.
I want to start with Star Trek and as a category, and I have a few objects here that hopefully you'll count as just the one of the things we'll talk about. But I love Star Trek and I love prop replicas. And actually, unfortunately, I couldn't bring into my office. Maybe this is a little bit of recency bias, but the thing that when I thought about what should I talk to Ken about? What are the things that mean a lot to me in my massive collection and varied collection of things? Like, what's the thing right now that every day I like staring at? That every night I'm thinking about. And the recency bias may be part of it, but the thing that I've been so happy to be able to get is the 1/350 scale replica of the Enterprise refit model from Tomy. That we covered on the channel a couple years ago. And this is a die-cast metal representation of the ship that was introduced, Enterprise, that was introduced in Star Trek: The Motion Picture. And 1/350th scale is a very common scale for the Enterprise. That people build out kits at the scale. There's some really nice ones out there. This one came as a pre-built, pre-lit, pre-painted display model. It's heavy. It has incredible.
So what does that
lights.
Equate to in inches? The 1/350th.
I want to say it's about 28 to 30 inches.
Of die-cast is pretty
it's
hefty.
Very heavy. Yeah. I didn't have the place. It has a stand that sits on with a couple of struts, but the company that makes it is Tomy, which is not known for their Star Trek collectibles. Like, they're not the master replicas of or an EFX.
But they are a collectibles company. They're a well-known collectibles company.
Yeah, they make toys, right? They make more like common children's toys. But a couple of years ago, the story here is they got a license to do ship replicas from CBS, from Paramount, for Star Trek. And they launched a kind of it's a very common thing to do these days, like a crowdfunded style, campaign to see how many people would back and pay, $650 for the first project they did, which was the original TV show, original series Enterprise. Also die-cast, fully painted, fully lit. And their kind of their uniqueness to the market, their differentiator was the fact that it was die-cast metal, and they chose that because they run the factories. Like, that's what Tomy has in their factories in Japan. Their expertise is doing die-cast metal products, and so they didn't want to do just plastic, and they felt like it was a more premium model to do, a business model to embark on.
Doesn't it also address a common issue with doing Enterprise replicas?
Yeah, which is sagging nacelles.
Droopy
That's
plastic.
Right, exactly, drooping plastic, right? So I was like, oh man, a no-brainer. And here's the stunner. They couldn't get 2,000 backers for that first model. They had to lower the threshold for success. I think they wanted to do it. They were the campaign managers, the product managers, who we now know because they've become internet acquaintances, and we've met them in person. They just couldn't get the word out, and I knew about it. I was on the forums. I was really excited about it, and I helped them, try to spread the word on social media. But I think they eventually lowered the number of units to 1,700 and 1,701. Right? If you get 1,701, if you make that, then maybe they can break even. And I think they eventually got to basically about 2,000 units made,
which is just a
not
passion project of someone in the company that was just.
I think so. I think it was testing the waters, right? It was testing the waters to see, like, they have this license. And one thing that I want to talk about, the thing that I've learned at Tested, talking directly to toy manufacturers, whether it's a Hasbro or a Tomy or a small, independent toy maker, because it's the barrier to entry to designing and making toys to release to a, quote unquote mass market is lower than ever, right? You can prototype with 3D printing. You can do small batch manufacturing. The access to factories is much lower. You still have to, do the work, and you still have to get the license, or you can do it, third party bootleg style. But like making a product real is possible if you have the dedication and passion and to pursue it. The margins are small. It's not like no one's making millions of dollars doing these projects. The licenses are expensive. The yields are solid. And to work with a factory, you have to be making in the thousands of units for
you're going
to be worth that time.
Higher end collectible. They're going to be collectible. They're not a mass market product when you're doing something like this.
Yeah, and even mass market, like we're talking, like I think you and I are relatively the same age, grew up in the same generation. Like the old, Playmates toys and the old Kenner toys, they took for kind of granted distribution, right? They could pump out toy lines every year because the Toys R Us's and the toy stores around the world would buy them up, and they would have a steady stream.
Or Sears. I mean,
exactly.
You had a major ready-made rolled out that was looking for new product constantly.
Yeah, absolutely.
That wanted to fill aisles.
Yes. And now the toy makers have to find the audience. They have to kind of go direct to consumer. Retail, distribution is expensive. Even selling on retail, on Amazon, it's just like the price they take to store, the fee the cut they take, and the fee they take to even store your product, right? To do fulfillment just takes away all the margin. And so you have to become like aggressive direct marketers. You can't rely on products to become product lines. They're almost every product is a one-off, is a shot in the dark. It's almost akin to like filmmaking. It's all indie films now and not blockbusters because there's so many more options out there.
Well,
and the distribution streams
made TV that way as well. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
That's why you have years-long gaps between seasons of shows.
So the long story short is it really has created a new appreciation from my perspective of the people who run these toy companies. And when I say companies, it's usually just like a single designer, an engineer, and a product manager that make these things happen. And they work with artists.
Fingers crossed, a really good business person.
Exactly. Right. But it's not, these aren't, even though they might be owned by conglomerates, they're not big teams of people. They're passionate people who have the expertise and can make something real. And I'm so impressed by that. And so I really was rooting for a company like Tomy to make this enterprise work. First of all, $650 for a die-cast 350th scale original series enterprise, even though that's not my favorite design. Like, I was rooting for this. I wanted this. So I got that, backed it. It made it happen. Could not be happier. And there were some growing pains with that model. Some promises that were made with like the screw covers that weren't in the right place, I think. But I could not be happier with the product. And in the secondary market, these ships now go for thousands of dollars. Like, everyone's like, why didn't I know about this? Well, again, it's like they couldn't get the word out. It's like it's a flash in the pan. Yeah. If more people had found out about it. So you have to write again, they have to be the marketers. They have to meet the moment. Right. And so the second opportunity game and the second product I did was that enterprise refit. And this is the one I've wanted for so long. It is that era of motion picture movie where they took all the, the aesthetics from the original series and kind of just put it to the side. And now you have like the red uniforms, like the Wrath of Khan, uniforms. You have all the 80s and, it's late 70s technically, but like late 70s, early 80s aesthetic of Starship. And I just find that so, so beautiful. It's
you're
so
also having to design for film resolution at that point.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And these miniatures were so gorgeous. I mean, Doug Trumbull, when he shot that scene where Kirk and Scotty are flying in the shuttle and they're exploring the refit of the Enterprise. Like, this is the first time Star Trek fans got to see.
Oh, that's an entire interlude.
Oh yes, it's pornographic, to be frank, right? Like, and Doug Trumbull is, he admitted as such as he was designing it. But the model, if you've seen the behind the scenes pictures, the miniature they built, so gorgeous. The dry dock that lights around it, these little spotlights, just created such a memorable scene. And so every recreation, 3/50th scale, tries to aspire to that wonder. And so this Tomy model, it's lit, the lights blink, there's interior detail, the sense of scale is truly impressive. And it's in my living room right now.
And the Aztecing.
Oh, the Aztecing. The paint is so good. They work with, community experts.
For people not familiar, can you describe Aztecing?
Yes, yeah. So one of the ways to impress scale on a Star Trek ship, especially when you're talking about the saucer section of the original Enterprise was basically flat colored gray, and there were some like kind of streaks on there from the front, but they didn't really have visible, panel lines, so to speak. And motion picture going forward, and especially with Next Generation, one of the ways to show panel lines is have these overlapping kind of patterns of iridescent paint that would catch light coming from, a starbase or a star just off axis to give it not only a sheen, but a texture that then impresses on the viewer. This thing is massive. It has this panel detail. And the panel detail is called Aztecing because if you look at it up close, the way these kind of Tetris block lines intersect kind of look like glyphs, like Aztec glyphs. So they call it Aztecing. And to recreate Aztecing on a model that you might build yourself, you need a really detailed stencil. Right. People sell stencils for saucer sections. It is a painstaking process to overlay not just one stencil, but layers of stencils.
How many times have you done it?
You're a model maker.
Have you ever done Aztecing yourself?
I have not done Aztecing to that degree. I've done stuff on Star Wars models.
Why has there not been a tested video of you attempting Aztecing?
Oh, because they're...
Who would you go to if you were to do a tested video and you needed to choose somebody?
I have my list of model maker friends I've met at conventions like Wonderfest, and I'm going to be at that show at the end of this month. I would definitely call on them. There's a great Star Trek modeler who goes Lou Damasco, and he does some great Star Trek builds. I'd reach out to him and try to do a collaboration.
I'm throwing the gauntlet down in a way that's easily ignored and can be completely forgotten after this, but at some point, it would be brilliant to see just a demonstration of someone teaching that, or just showing it. I mean, that's the great thing about just Test It as a channel, is there is stuff I would never attempt because I don't feel that I'm capable of doing it, but I love watching process and people who know what they're doing and are passionate about it, and that's the joy of Test It as a channel.
Thank you, and I really appreciate that. And like that's a type of task and that kind of paint application, it's so time consuming. Like I wouldn't want to stress the person out. There you go. It's hard to document in the kind of production timelines that we have. It would be like I would need to have someone embedded with us for a whole week to make that work. And so it's all about like the logistics of like what's possible. Is how I would think about like making that thing happen, a video like that happen. But I like the idea. And I will take it under consideration.
Well, fingers crossed at some point. Maybe a time lapse. Maybe some time lapse in there. And maybe,
yes, absolutely.
Maybe some stages.
If we get like a sponsored series where we could devote a month of our time, or production time, to building out a full scale replica of a starship, like I would love to do that. I would love nothing more to do that.
For that refit, what do you feel was the biggest leap forward from their first release of the original TV show?
The nacelles.
The Enterprise.
The nacelles. The going from cylinders to these rectangular nacelles and struts with the glowing light, blue light and purple light, like that to me defines the styling of the motion picture Enterprise and going forward.
And you also talked about it in the video about that they even solved the problem of not having hotspots.
Oh yeah,
in the nacelle lighting.
Sure. Yeah. It's great. It's a continuous blue. They did this. It's called Raytheon lighting, also of lighting from the interior of the nacelle to simulate a spotlight. And I'll tell you this: the community has even so the Enterprise model sits on a base with 3 LED spotlights that light it from the bottom, and the LED spotlights are bright, but they're dispersed, right? They're not this targeted light. And the community has already identified these 10-degree lenses that you can mount on top of the LED lights. And someone's already working on like a 4th revision of a 3D printed adapter so that you can mount a off-the-shelf lens, focusing lens, on top of this very specific model that then gives it an even more screen accurate spotlight look underneath the saucer section and on the sides of the engineering hull.
So, yeah, so when you get that, I know you have the notification set. So when will we see a shot-by-shot recreation with your scale model?
Oh my goodness!
The motion picture.
We have the slider. I got probe lenses. This is one of those things where, like, if I could carve out a day, like, I love nothing more than, setting up a painstaking camera shot in the office with lighting. But like, this is the kind of stuff that...
Has anyone done like 3D modeled the dry dock that it's in?
Oh yeah. I know someone is currently building the dry dock as a model to fit over their 350th scale.
Would that be in that?
It would be 40 inches, right? It would be 40 inches long, and it would be like 2 feet wide.
But you do want
it would be an incredible display. Of course I would want one. I would have no place to put it. Where would I put it, Ken? I have no place to put things. There's the floor space is minimal because everything is sitting on floors.
That's why you need to start hanging them. Don't you want a die-cast Enterprise hanging over your head?
It's too heavy. Like, that's the thing. It's like 18 pounds or so. It's way too heavy. But anyway, like, not only is the ship beautiful, I love looking at it. I turn the lights on at night. I dim the living room lights, and I just look at the ship. And it's like like sitting across the living room, just staring at it. I get to imagine the world of Star Trek, which I love so much. And it's the 60th anniversary this year. So that was one thing in the Star Trek. I did want to bring a couple other things. These aren't my other items, Ken, but I'll quickly mention.
This is within the category.
This is within the category.
Okay.
Yes. But things I'm also, so like, there's things that I like staring at, and then there's things I like just handling and having that tactile feel that connect me to the world. Do you remember Star Trek First Contact?
I do. What portion of it?
when Picard and Data and the away team go down and beam down into the missile silo where the Phoenix resides after the Borg first attack it, and they want to assess the damage, and they don't know if Zefram Cochrane
This is going to be the
dead.
first warp-propelled ship.
Yes, human-designed warp-propelled.
Warp ship.
The thing that takes humanity into the stars, right? To be a warp-capable civilization, right? And it's Zefram Cochrane, turned a missile, ICBM, into this vehicle of exploration. He wants to make money on it, but he became the father figure for the Federation before it was. But anyway, there's a great scene where Picard's in the silo and he's there with Data, and he's staring at the Phoenix, and he puts his hand on it and he touches it, and Data doesn't understand why Picard has to touch it. And Picard tells a story of how he's seen this ship so many times as a child at the Smithsonian, where in the future, presumably, the Phoenix would have resided as an artifact of space exploration. But he could never touch it. It was always behind glass or at a distance. And as humans, to touch something, to have that tactile feel, the haptic connection to it, brings you closer to the object. It connects you in a way that just seeing it, just experiencing it, it's a completely different thing. And so that's a long way of saying that I also love tangible Star Trek props and prop replicas. And there's a company called the Wan Company, who's also, we have been very privileged to now become friends with and follow their journey, designing a wide assortment of replicas. And they've made last year the original series tricorder. And this is one of my favorite things. This is a long journey on the part of Chris Bernardo, the founder of the Wan Company, in designing and recreating not just an aesthetically, perfect replica based on a scan of Greg Gian's original prop that it was in his collection. Greg Gian being one of the original model makers of Star Trek, but a functional replica with articulating screen. It powers up, and every single captain's log that is in the original series is housed digitally in this tricorder that you can play back. And they have their own screen. It's fully interactive. I can check my ship stats. And here's the coolest thing. You can pull here. You can see there's an animated moire that recreates the effect of that moire. It's overlapping the series of silks or screens. And then in the original series, on the left side of this moire disc, there's this row of like this metallic cylinder. And it was never really explained what the cylinder is. But as a fan, as a designer, Chris and his team imagined that these were data disks. And he designed a system by which he made these metal discs, which are painted, and they're color coded and they have text on them. But when you put the disc in a certain position in the tricorder, it actually changes what the tricorder changes. This is how you would change the behavior of the tricorder, whether you're checking the status of the ship,
tricorder
or let's say there go your ship's logs, you get your planetary information, and it allows for this ability to role play the interactivity of what this device, which doesn't do any real world scanning, but to have, again, the experience of what someone on an away mission in the original series would be doing. And I love this thing so much.
It puts my master replicas tricorder to shame.
and I mean, this is one of those things where, going back to, the Herculean task of making modern collectibles and toys, you get one chance at this, right? Like there's not going to be a V2 or a V3. The number of Star Trek fans who are willing and able to spend $350 to $400 on a prop replica, a collectible, there's a limited number, right? Especially original series fans. They're maybe like 4,000 or 5,000. And I say that number very specifically because that's how many they made. And they've sold out. And they actually did a second run. They partnered to do a second run because the demand was so high. So I think they ended up making like 10,000, but that's it. If you could reach every single Star Trek fan who wants to buy one, you probably get about 10,000 people out there. Right. And you got to make the numbers work to make a high quality product, still make a little bit of money off it, still pay the licensor the right to make this an official Star Trek collectible, and then to make the quality of materials and electronics worthy enough to be that perfect tricorder that someone who watched the show 60 years ago had imagined and could not get until today.
See, my question for a design team on something like that, here it is, it's realized, it's done, they finished it, is to go to them and go, okay, you have this. This is now it. Is there anything when you look at it, you go, I wish we had been able to do that.
It's true. It's true.
Or I noticed that's a little bit off and I wish we could go back and correct that.
That's a dangerous question because so often these designers, they love their things. They can only see the flaws, right? It's touchy, right? They as perfect as it wants to be, they're never going to be happy with
and
it.
You have your mind's eye.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's how the camera, I mean, you've talked about this before and people talk about this. Well, do you want what the model paint looked like, or do you want what it looked like when it was lit, and how your mind sees that in the TV show or in the film or in the photograph or whatever?
Yeah.
What representation is the ideal one for you is entirely subjective.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. And I think that's why I think when they designed these replicas, and I have also the phaser they made. This is very hard to get. This is the One Company phaser. This also has a weight to it in the handle that feels so good. It has design elements that were never shown in the show as like, what is this? What is the crystal that's in here? But again, just imagined by Chris and his team. And this one has full interactivity. I mean, has a dial on the back I can change between a dozen different phaser effects. And of course, the Type 1 phaser does pop up, and that's where the battery is housed, and the actual effect is there. So, incredible prop. And the amazing thing is, this phaser prop, which is so hard to get these days, they made too many of them. The company almost went under because they thought they overestimated how many people at that time would want one, and they relied too much on retail distribution, put them in Best Buys, and Best Buys couldn't get rid of them, and they went on heavy sale, and they had to sell them almost at a loss, and it almost ruined the company. But now,
that came after they did the communicator, right?
That's right. They did the communicator, they did the rock, and then the phaser.
But the communicator benefited from having, at the time, a functional ThinkGeek as a distributor.
That's right. And also as a Bluetooth, it was a novelty of it also working as a Bluetooth device to make phone calls.
Yeah, you can actually take phone calls on it.
Yep.
Shout out to Doc Hammer, who still takes phone calls on his communicator.
Really? On his one?
That's
amazing.
I got them to send him one, and he uses it to this. He had to, conversation with him, he had to replace the battery recently.
That's the thing. These batteries also do not last forever, and thankfully in the tricorder,
and they weren't made to be
accessible.
Replaced.
No, they weren't. Yeah. So you have to. The people collect them. They do like
I
every
have a 10th
4 months.
Doctor
They
sonic
charge.
screwdriver that I don't even want to find out that it doesn't work.
No, you don't want to have the spicy pillows inside your props.
No. But I also don't want to just break it as you're trying to get into it to do that battery replacement.
So I want to give a shout out to these companies and these props, because not only every time I look at the ship and I hold these prop replicas, I'm not just thinking about Star Trek and my relationship with Star Trek. I'm thinking about those designers and those product managers as well. What it took for them to manifest these collectibles, put them out in the market. Because these, there are pop culture is filled to the brim with companies that don't exist anymore, that tried once or twice and for one reason or another just failed. And sometimes they make great stuff. And sometimes that stuff is some of the most interesting stuff to try to find on the secondary
and up and
market.
Down the price scale. It can be from master replicas down to Diamond Select.
Yes.
That those are gone.
Yeah. So appreciate what we got while it's there. And thankfully with like Facebook groups and with forums, the people working on those products can be more open and more connected to the fans, and their stories are more told. So we get to actually hear about, it's not just the name of the company and behind a big corporate logo.
And the fans being an incredible resource when it comes to getting details more right than they could otherwise be.
100%. I mean, like the other misconception that I've talked about on the channel is that a company that has a license, just because you were granted a license, doesn't mean that Paramount or CBS or whoever owns, or Disney or Lucasfilm, vetted a dozen different prop companies and chose you because you have the best model or you have the most authentic thing. They chose the licensee because they trusted the licensee could pay them the royalty.
Yeah. Did you meet the license fee?
It's a business relationship, right? And the assumption that the licensee then has the access to the best reference and all the original models, that's not true at all. They have to do all the research themselves. That's all on them. And so,
because you also at these companies, for the most part, don't have anyone that has that knowledge even for an approval process to go, you got it wrong, you got it right.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly it. They're educated as much by the licensees who they trust because of the contractual liabilities involved to do the legwork and to go whether to fans or to for secondary sources, or do the to already be fans themselves, to create something that represents the brand properly.
Yeah, as long as they're paid and you don't poison the license while you have it. So before we move on from Star Trek,
yes,
I'm gonna ask you for each of these categories before you move on.
Okay.
From it. What is the one thing that you don't have in your collection?
Oh
that
my
you
God.
would like?
I didn't realize this was going to be a question. Oh,
What's your gut tell you? What's the one thing that you would love from Star Trek? Prop, ship, whatever that comes to mind that hasn't been done to what you would want yet.
oh, that doesn't exist yet. Not a
Doesn't
thing
exist
that
yet.
came
Yeah,
out
it
that I
doesn't
just
exist.
haven't.
Like you're thinking, what
That's a really
hasn't
good
been
question.
produced
Okay.
yet?
Yeah, I mean, I want a Voyager model at that Tomy scale. Enterprise D would be too big, and there are many people who've done versions of the Enterprise D, and I love that ship, but I love the Voyager. I want one. I want I want the Reliant. I want Tomy to do the Reliant, so I have it to pair with the Enterprise refit, and that's the Wrath of Khan pairing.
I want a Cerritos.
I know. Yeah, but I would love.
You just want Picard's ship display from First Contact. Is really what you're saying.
Well, his Ready Room display, those were gold ships. And actually,
yes.
The funny thing is, for the TV show Star Trek Picard, I know some of the folks, and we worked with some of the testing contributors. Sean Charlesworth worked with Bill Krause, who helped design the Enterprise G, the Titan that became the Enterprise G, to actually work on behalf of production to manufacture the golden versions of the Stargazer that were in the Ready Room with the Stargazer in the back, just as behind the scene, just as a Easter egg shot. So
I'm looking behind you to see if you have a copy of it.
I don't have. I was smart to know not to. If I have it, I wouldn't show you on camera. But the model exists somewhere.
I'm sure it exists as a 3D file. Anything could happen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
I think my answer would be I want the Voyager.
First and foremost, you want the Voyager.
I would love a Voyager. I think the Voyager is a beautiful ship, and that was one where there was a physical model, but they moved to CG relatively quickly. And I think the scale of Voyager works really in line with the original Enterprise scale. Enterprise D is too big. It's such a massive ship. It's hard to do it in any scale.
But if they made it available, you'd have to give a beat.
100%. I wouldn't hesitate to put a pre-order down immediately.
And that's why it's going to exist.
I'm one of the 5,000 people who would do it.
So where is the Voyager model now?
I don't know where that filming model is. We saw one of the early prototypes of a Voyager model at Prop Store a couple of years ago. I know in terms of collectors, there was a Voyager model that's massive, like the size of a room, maybe the size of like multiple rooms, that was part of the Star Trek Experience, hanging in the Star Trek Experience at the Las Vegas Hilton. And that was put up for auction, and someone has that's working on a restoration of that. But I don't know what the original filming model, where that is. Yeah.
And you did think about getting that one?
No space. No space. Yeah, it's all about volume. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to your next category.
All right. My next category is 1/6 scale toys, right? Because, like I said, alluded to earlier, this is my deepest obsession. I could go on. We could do 2 hours of talk just on 1/6 scale. I know you collect them as well, so
we will do that in the future. We will have that conversation.
I would love to. And so, representative of that category. So, for people, I don't know if your listeners familiar with the companies that make 1/6 scale toys, right? G.I. Joe is 1/6 scale, technically the original G.I. Joe, right? Barbie is probably,
and 1/6 we're talking 12-inch scale.
Exactly, 12-inch, right? Exactly. 1/6 the size of a 6-foot tall person is basically roughly 12 inches. And in the, I guess it was the early to mid aughts is when 1/6 started really blowing up. There was a McFarlane Toys moment. You remember 1/12? We had our Playmates toys at 6-inch scale figures. We had, that we
Toy
as
Biz
kids accepted. Toy Biz, exactly. And then,
but they were plastic. They were mainly just oversized action figures.
Yes, and action figures exactly is what we would have called them back in the day. And then when Todd McFarlane came out and did his 6-inch action figures, he found the factories and put the money into the paint detailing that took them to a whole other level. And it showed kids of our generation that toys could be forms of art, that they could be incredibly detailed. And for the 1/6 scale market, I think that really started in the mid 2000s.
Well, that's when mixed media started coming back into it.
Yeah, Medicom was a big company in Japan that started putting out, again with like Star Wars license. Hot Toys had their first toys in the early aughts, and Sideshow was doing it back then.
I mean,
too.
really, for me, the one that really brought it to as close to a mass market as you can get for that scale, and getting the public to be aware of it. Because those, Hot Toys, all those were niche, very niche products that had to be imported. Mm-hmm. And Sideshow, not only for themselves, but eventually through becoming a licensee distributor for all of these other companies, brought them to prominence. But yeah, for me, and I believe, if I'm correct, they started out with, they were war figures.
War figures and horror too. Yeah. Monsters. And then, of course, the pop culture licenses became too alluring, and that's when you really hit the mass market.
And you certainly had Hasbro. I mean, Hasbro was doing some mixed media with their Star Wars toys in the late 90s. So definitely shout out to them.
And I think what separated the the Hot Toys and the Sideshow with your G.I. Joes, let's say, because G.I. Joes wore mixed media clothing, right? They had, you put clothes on them. Barbies, you put clothes on them. Was more than just the clothes, was the sculpt on the face.
Trying to get that fidelity.
And the fidelity and the paint and the detail of the sculpt, and making sure the factories the injection molded factories could replicate the original, because these were all hand sculpted back then. They weren't digitally sculpted. So could recreate whatever the original hand sculpted clay sculpture, wax sculpture of the character, and have the artists paint them with eyes that look lifelike, right? Down to the eyelashes.
And had a consistency on those paint jobs across the limited run of these things.
Yeah. So when I, I look at my office has basically all of my 6 scale collection, and there are easily like 150 that I see in within my eye line here. What I look at and what I love is the fidelity of the costuming. So especially with the rise of superhero films and real costuming being such an art in itself, the translation of the costume on the page to the fabric and the interpretation of what a real life costume could be, going from the original Raimi Spider-Mans to the Nolan Batmans to the MCU, having those costumes then recreated with all the layering and not exactly the same materials, but to behave and look in the same way. The tailoring, exactly. The fitment in the same way for something that's a skin-tight suit like a Spider-Man or Superman to something that's more fabric-based like a Doctor Strange. It's the closest you're going to get to seeing the costume in real life. And sometimes, like, the Hot Toys designers will go to the original specialty costume makers, like an FBFX or Ironhead Studio, and and go and they have to do their own research themselves, and they have to, and you're seeing angles and ways the costumes are put together that you wouldn't notice those details unless you had first-hand access to the one-to-one size costume. That's one of the reasons I love these characters and these costumes.
And also, for a lot of that stuff, you don't have the ease of just going, oh, we'll just cut a bolt of the same fabric that they're using, because it doesn't scale.
No.
The texture doesn't scale.
Oh my gosh. Stitching is, getting stitch lines to be small. Zippers are a big controversy right now because some companies have, Hot Toys, like their latest Terminator figure. I can show you. This isn't one of my items.
It's not molded, right? Not functional anymore?
It's painted. Yeah, just painted zipper lines to make it look like the scale. But you have like the latest Ghostbusters figures from Blitzway have actual zippers that work on the jumpsuits, but those zippers are slightly bigger to scale. So you have to choose like functional zippers or aesthetically accurate to scale.
Yeah. Do you want casual Venkman? Do you want?
Yeah. But these are the things that 6 scale collectors obsess about. And more recently, Hot Toys have kind of hit their stride. They really kind of overproduced, I think, back in the 2019 with the not only the peak Endgame and Infinity War times, but I think I wouldn't say they hit a lull, but like they were just cruising.
I
in
think
quality.
they've benefited from having actual competition.
Yes, and so the
That we're
competition.
coming up and even exceeding them on
Yes,
certain
yes,
things and pushing them to
yeah,
go, oh, we can't coast.
yeah. And so part of the collector's mentality is like, yeah, and these things are like, let's be honest and frank, these things are expensive, right? They're $200 to $300. At 300 is kind of the baseline price right now for a 6 scale figure. Uh, and it's still relatively mass market. They're making thousands of these because the collector base is so big worldwide. But as a collector, you're like, where can I put more money in getting even a better quality and in a better quality sculpt, better quality paint job, better quality tailoring. And for the longest time, it would be in the custom marketplace, the custom world. So there is a whole community of people, very talented painters who will sell commissions to repaint or do a custom sculpt, digital sculpt, and paint a blank of a likeness of an actor or a character that the community might think they've done a much better job than what Hot Toys could do because they
Right.
can
Because sometimes the
spend.
sculpts are fantastic. And, as we see with action figures too, is that
Yeah.
you can lose a lot in a paint job that isn't quite there.
Yeah, and you can lose a lot in just the manufacturing of going in the injection molded process. The details soften just a little bit as you recreate that. And so, with high quality resin 3D printers, independent sculptors who are going straight from their digital model to a 3D print, they get much better actual sculptural detail as well. And then they'll do better hair work, as opposed to just having sculpted hair, they'll have a rooted hair or implanted hair, and not just plastic hair, but actual wool hair. And so one company that had a 6 scale guru, this guy named Viper, who was making customs for a long time, he took the lead, and Queen Studios was the company which had previously made 1:1 scale, life size, like, busts of superhero characters, or quarter scale or third scale. They a couple of years ago dove into the 1/6 scale world with their In Art series. And this is probably the biggest competitor, the strongest competitor to Hot Toys, not in quantity, but in quality. And they're more expensive. They're by far, they're $500 figures and not $300 figures.
But they're
And
also
I have a
looking to be the
few.
end all be all.
They are absolutely. They like, and like Hot Toys will put out many Iron Men. Like I've lost count of how many different Tony Starks they've put out. And while InArt doesn't have a license, their whole idea is if they put a Gandalf out, and Gandalf was their first 6 scale figure, it's going to be like the definitive Gandalf. There will not be a version 2.0. There might be Gandalf the White later on, but like it's going to be like the one you have in your collection. And so the one I wanted to show that's an InArt figure that's in my collection is, oh no, I just dropped it from my shelf. What I drop? I have to make sure I be very careful.
Yeah, don't move that chair.
I know. Don't move my chair. This is an InArt Paul Atreides from Dune with rooted hair. And I love this figure. Ken, do you have any InArt in your collection? Have you seen these in person?
Sadly, I've seen them in person. Sadly, have not been able to get. If I were to get any single one, I would probably get the Gandalf. That would have been my go-to.
That's a grail. I don't have the Gandalf. It's over $1,000 on the eBay market
yeah.
right now.
That would have been my go-to. For what they've done so far.
And this is fully posable. The layering of the fabric and the still suit, which is not an easy costume to replicate. It is so perfectly done, and I love the sculpt and the hair work on this, the wool hair. It's almost like creepy to touch it because they use hair product to keep it in place, and some people actually restyle the hair using combs and hairspray to restyle.
Have you? Did you style his hair?
I have not. I just put a little bit of water on there just to mat it down a little bit, but it feels like real hair because it is real wool hair.
And you notice the difference because certainly other companies have tried doing hair. And Hot Toys, famously tried doing hair with their, original releases of like Black Widow and Scarlet Witch, but they were using that like nylon, right? They were using
that's it.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, plastic. And now, because I think of InArt, and maybe at the same time that the factories show that they can do it, Hot Toys has their artisan line, which also has wool hair, and it's glued on. But I think what InArt does so well, and it's hard to see in the sculpt, is the blend line between the forehead and the hair is blended by a little bit of a piece of sculpted hair that covers the seam just of that hairline. And that really helps the blend. So it doesn't look like it's hair that comes out of nowhere, like a chia pet. It actually looks like hair that is styled on a real person.
It doesn't
The
look like
eyeballs are, of course,
a punched in doll hair.
Exactly. It's not punched. It's rooted with wool hair. The eyes are movable, so the whole headpiece can come off in the back, and you can adjust the eyes independently. And I've taken macro photos of this guy, and just looking at the fineness in the eyelashes, the lower and upper eyelashes that are painted on, it's like a finer brush compared to the ones that are painted on Hot Toys, which are great and they look incredible. But I can just tell that they paid more, or they have chosen the better factory, or they spend more time, where whatever artist is doing the hand painting on this has to make fewer in a day or something, because they can spend more time.
And maybe a much smaller run.
Yeah,
well.
and maybe that's it. Yeah, or because they just charge more for it. So the posability, the paint, even the color of the skin, I think it just looks more lifelike, and there's layering in the paint on this.
Now, how do you pose? Do you go for museum poses, or do you go
absolutely not? Oh, Ken, that you're speaking my language. So let's explain. Museum pose is standard arms to the side. Arms to the side.
Action figure pose.
Like a standard, and museum pose.
Like if you're going to do a turnaround.
Exactly. It's a turnaround, arms to the side, shoulders relax, super vanilla. And that's because you don't want to stress necessarily the fabric or the joints. If you have these characters which are fully articulated in an extreme pose, and some figures are more articulated than others, with double jointed elbows, with just like toe caps that can bend, not as well articulated as 12th scale, which we'll get to in a minute. But I'm a big fan of extreme a pose, not as extreme, but pushing the limits of the pose. I absolutely want a character pose, and sometimes that character pose can just be relaxed. It could just be as simple as, I'll bring out, here's Peter Parker Spider-Man, and it's just 1 foot up, resting on a thing. It's a relaxed. This is
but you got a head tilt. You got the eyes positioned.
Yeah, he has a personality. He's doing a thing. His one fist is clenched. One is holding his mask.
I mean, I will say the if I were to pick one innovation that made the most difference for that scale, it would have to be the eyes. To actually have the ability to adjust the eyes, for that to be a thing now that Hot Toys was pushed into by other companies going, we're really going to plant the flag on all of our releases are going to have these.
Movable eyes.
Whereas Hot Toys was really picking and choosing, like the DX might have, their premium line might have it,
the
but
PERS
standard
eyes
ones
for the parallel eye movement. Yeah, now it's all standard. And there's it's surprisingly divisive to me that some people still feel like fixed eyes, you lose the seam. The seam with a movable eye sometimes can look a little bit more detached than a fixed eye. But I think the trade-off is absolutely worth it. The ability just to create character intent with an eye pose, whether it's, if you have a Wolverine, I got Logan right here. And if he's not, him looking up versus him looking to a side eye, to him looking straight, it's a completely different personality. It's a completely different
which doesn't
pose
change
that you can work with it.
The set of the jaw, doesn't change the mouth,
exactly,
because you can't change anything else on that face.
That's right.
But so much is communicated with those eyes, and that was the problem with so many of those early releases that I would, you look at and you go, it's so great except for that, and a lot of the female characters really suffered because they put the sort of blandest expressions on a lot of those. You're going, all it would have taken, like those Leia figures. Imagine if those original Leia releases that Hot Toys did had movable eyes.
It's with every anniversary, I anticipate a re-release, a 2.0 or even a 3.0 in some instances.
And yet they do not give you.
They'll come eventually. I'm pretty confident.
I mean, here's the thing on stuff like that is, can we get a middle ground for like the folks who have it? Just sell the head separately. Just sell an updated head. Just have that ability. You'll sell far more than you would on people buying a whole figure. Just offer that as an option for folks who are like, listen, I don't need a whole new figure. I don't need that.
Yeah.
Just let me swap a head. That's it.
Well, the neck joints are varied now. Whether it's a fixed neck or a movable
or like the
neck,
box joint,
and exactly, they have a completely different proprietary line of joints. And to the collector's credits, there are adapters that people have made that you can 3D print to make it work with a standard. Yeah, exactly. Or you can use some plumber's tape just to create some friction on that. But yeah, I don't know if the business model can support it. I think they want to sell full-blown figures
they don't
at
want
$300.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But that again is where the custom market comes in. That's why you have so many people who are doing great custom head sculpts that people can buy going, oh, I want to upgrade this.
And
replacing
I don't
bodies
discriminate.
or whatever.
Like, yeah, I love the superhero stuff. I also love the random esoteric stuff. I love the third-party stuff that gets made, even some of the unlicensed stuff. There are artists that I follow now that just that put out, their own designs. And they can be cheaper too, but it's like the samurai stuff is incredible. And the dioramas, I mean, I could go deep. We've done videos about 6-scale vehicles on Tested, and there are companies that make, 6-scale Batmobiles to Batwings to motorcycles, and all that stuff takes up way more space than you think at that scale. But it's just like the costumes, just like seeing the costumes and the fidelity of the costumes recreated on something that you can pose and have in your room or on your desk. The vehicles do the same because they're characters in themselves. And I love I have a few Batmobiles at 1/6 scale that I also love.
So to the same question we did with Star Trek. What's the one thing that hasn't been done? You're like, please, will somebody just release this character or this vehicle in this scale? That's all I want. If I could get one, what would you want?
I've thought about this a bunch. I want to say, for me, probably a really great Blade Runner. A really great Harrison Ford Blade Runner. I've seen a few third-party ones. None of them are good enough. But a really good Deckard would be amazing. Yeah. And my second choice would be a really good Matrix 1 Neo, which I know Hot Toys put one out, but that was over a decade and a half ago. And the long overdue for an update. And an in-art Neo from Matrix 1 would also be on my grail list.
I'll throw in mine. I have two.
Yeah.
One is a line. One is a figure. The figure, I want a Buckaroo Banzai.
Oh, okay.
And
the Peter Weller sculpts out there.
I don't hear anyone talking about a Buckaroo Banzai.
No, yeah. That would have to be a third party, I think.
So, someone out there. The other thing, I want a 6 scale, mixed media, Muppets line.
Oh. Wow, why 6th scale? Why not just go 1-to-1?
Because we've had 1-to-1. It gets expensive.
It does, yeah.
But if you have a 6 scale collection, don't you want a 6 scale Kermit the Frog standing next to your Mandalorian or whatever it may be on your 6 scale shelf?
Let me ask you this. Would you want just Kermit or Kermit the Puppet with Jim Henson?
Why can't you have both?
Oh, I mean, what is the perfect display in your mind when you're thinking because I like scenes, right?
I don't think we'll ever get, and Playmates was very close. I mean, it was weirdly meta, so they couldn't do it with their Jim Henson puppet figure release. They were going to do a Kermit puppet to go on it, but it would have been a puppet on a puppet, so it wasn't quite the right way to do that.
Right, yeah.
I think there are ways with swappable bits that you probably could do the puppet version and the poser version, the full-bodied version of like a Kermit or any of the other Muppets. I think standalone first. I would love a Jim Henson. I'm shocked. I would love a Jim Henson, a Frank Oz, a Jerry Nelson, a Richard Hunt, a Dave Goles. Give me all of them. Karen Prell, everyone. Just I don't care. Put them all out there.
In their different eras.
Yes, I want to see various stages of facial hair on all of them.
Right.
Different sweaters on Jim, the leather jacket, whatever. But I think that what I would just a proof of concept. I would love someone just to do a proof of concept on any one of those. Just to see, because I would love to know, what you would do to scale down fleece and get that texture right. Because, obviously in figures, they recreate that with the sculpting to give that effect. I've never seen anyone do like a flocked thing to see how that would look at that scale to try and do it. But yeah, that would be, and I think you have, because poser puppets exist, that armature exists. You could have open mouth, closed mouth. You could adjust those figures into poses.
Yeah.
In ways that have already been established with the poser versions of those puppets.
Gosh, you know what? It's a complete tangent, but it makes me also realize that there's a line that doesn't exist yet that I would love, because the armatures exist, and that's stop motion puppets recreated for mass market, like Nightmare Before Christmas or the Leica puppets. Those are roughly 6 scale size.
Yeah, give us a Paranorman.
I would love it. And those files exist because they're all using the 3D printed parts anyway. But obviously having a more bespoke, maybe die-cast
or Rudolph,
machine
or
interior. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Recreate those
Maybe it just
puppets.
takes one company to decide, we're going to try one. We're going to try one and see what happens with it. Who would be the company you would hope to take the
I don't think anyone will have the expertise. I mean, it would be crazy. I mean, and there are 6 scale figures with metal skeletons with basically armatures inside. So the processes exist. The information isn't shared.
The Kong armature. Has anyone released a Kong? Like the actual puppet? Like the Kong on the armature?
Yeah. No. I think, and that's a great point. Yeah. And the armature it was fixed. It wasn't articulated, right?
No, it was articulated.
It was articulated. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I at one point used to have it.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah.
So it could be done, and it's in a scale that's reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah. It would have to be expensive. The number of people, I don't know if it would be in the thousands, but like, again, you got to do the cost benefit analysis of like, can you make enough to justify the run to satisfy the collectors who are paying that much? It's that sweet spot of supply and demand.
So, shout out to anyone out there, anyone who's listening who wants to dip their toe in and be the ones to see if that works. Make it happen for us. But yeah, that's what I want. I want 6 scale Muppets.
All right. Shall we move on?
We are going to move on.
Because I could.
What's your next category?
Go on and on. Okay, so this one's a little bit of a cheat because I taught 6 scale, and most of my collection is 6 scale, but I do want to give a shout out to some 12th scale because I do think I don't collect it a lot, and it's its own obsession that you can get into. But there are moments where I see a line get released that I'm like, oh, I have to check this out, and I'm looking for a couple of things. I want to show 2 things. One, it's from Hasbro, and this no longer exists, but a couple of years ago, Hasbro did a line called the Selfie Series, and this one is especially personal to me, not just because it's me in 12th scale, but it was this perfect intersection of technology and pop culture as we had a chance to cover this on Tested. Hasbro partnered with a 3D printing company, Formlabs, which has resin printers, and they experimented with basically print on demand, of manufacturing on demand. And people could, using an application, the Hasbro Pulse app, they could take photos of themselves from a bunch of different angles, and using a set of like pre-modified hair pieces and preset bodies, they would get sent to these 3D print farms running resin Formlab printers that then would print out a resin piece that would go through Hasbro's in-house color printing process. One of the technologies that they've invested in is the ability to paint faces and eyeballs, basically using ultraviolet paint, putting figures and models and heads underneath what's essentially like
like an inkjet.
Yeah, kind of like an inkjet, but it's kind of like inkjet that cures immediately. But basically, being able to print on demand. I would love to
see. I mean, and we're far enough years into it. I would hope that they would allow. I would love to see a spotlight on that process and how that process works.
We have some friends at Hasbro.
They've revised it. Yeah. They've refined it. I mean, you look at the stuff they're doing right now, and just the gradation of it is so much better than when they first started doing it, which was already light years better than what the original painting was on figures. I mean, it was a game changer. And the fact that still, because it being proprietary, that no one else is doing it. We still have not seen anyone else being able to do anything even approaching it, or even developing their own technologies to do it with their own stuff.
It's not cheap. And there are consumer UV printers out there that you can print faces on Lego, minifigures, right? But to get the registration perfect, where the eyes and the eye, like the really not just the eyes and the pupils, but the color around the eyes, right? To perfectly match a head. And in this case, a custom designed head based on the geometry of face you scanned. That was incredible. Unfortunately, it wasn't a success. It was too expensive, I think. And they ran it for a year and a half. They had a second 2.0 and then they killed the whole project. But I was lucky enough to get 2 figures, one in the Stormtrooper and one as a Rebel pilot. And they didn't have glasses, so I 3D printed my own little glasses to put on my figure. And
that was the thing where it started getting weird for folks. It was like, well, but I wear glasses, and that's what makes me. Yeah. Or my hair's not like that. Or, why is it only a pilot and a Stormtrooper? Why isn't a Jedi? Why can't I be a Jedi? Why isn't there...
Customization can be unlimited, right? And they're finding the right intersection.
I'm not a thin person.
Right. Body shapes and sizes. Absolutely. Exactly. It couldn't work for everyone. I admire them for trying it, for embracing like rapid prototyping technologies, and the company Formlabs.
That resin for the head. So how would you compare that to what a mass produced, as far as flexibility? Like, are you concerned about that breaking? Is there any concern with that resin that they used for that head?
I've had this for years, and it is not brittle. It feels like an injection molded printed head. And Formlabs is known for their resins. Like, they have entire teams of material scientists working on new formulations for their printing. And the cool thing is that we followed this company. We met them when they were MIT graduates, prototyping their first printer as a startup at Maker Faire in 2012 in New York. And they've now grown to this, billion-dollar company that makes industrial printers and have partnerships with companies like Hasbro to make really cool toys. And so this is really fun for me, this amazing intersection of a company that I'd followed from its earliest days as a startup with a company that I've been a big fan of in their Hasbro and their toys, and coming together and being able to cover that at Comic-Con and then get my own figure was something that I'll always remember.
And now you're a Rebel pilot and a Stormtrooper. You're both
and
sides.
A Stormtrooper. Yes. I did want to use this as an opportunity to talk about some amazing advances in 12th scale, because in art, which I mentioned, I showed the 1/6 scale Paul Atreides. They've also started a 12th scale line, and they put out their first one was a
and 12th scale we're talking a 6-inch line.
6-inch, exactly. And theirs are a little bit smaller than like your Marvel Legends that Hasbro puts out.
Which really isn't a true... I mean, their Black Series Marvel Legends, it's a sliding scale. It's somewhere around 6-inch.
It's exactly a 6 to 7 inch, right?
You get McFarlane off doing 7-inch scale. It's all weird.
But this is, I guess, true 12th scale. And here's a Christian Bale at 12th scale. It's hard to see with this lens, but the paint job on this I found to be really remarkable. Nearing the quality of that of a figure twice the size, twice the height. Sometimes the third-party companies really surprise you. When I say third-party, the bootleg companies really surprise you. And I'm going to put this guy back. This company is called Chaos Toys. I don't know if you've heard of them.
I have not.
But they put out a Superman that they could not even show the logo when they put the pre-order because it's a bootleg. But the face on this Superman is the best 6-inch figure face sculpt and paint I've ever seen.
So what artist would you compare it to? If you were
This is a Frank Miller. This is a Frank Miller Superman. This is from Dark Knight Returns for sure. And the amount of posability on this figure, even under the fabric costume, is leagues beyond what you would get and expect from 1/6 scale at double the size. And so when I pick up a 12th scale, a 6-inch figure, it's all about playing with it. It is a toy for play more than just pose and display and repose every couple months. Like this is on my desk because I love putting them in extreme poses and stretching in, all the fabric and all the motions out and swapping the hands. And that's
so from what I can see from that. So the only other company that really is doing fabric at that scale is Mezco.
And Mezco's too thick. And I think their seams are... And
that's the thing, this every time I look at it, I go... It's just I can't. And like the Fantastic, I would love a Fantastic Four set. And I look at that and go,
the Mezco and Fantastic Four, I love. Okay, so I have a few Mezco, and you're right, like they really stepped up and brought mixed media and fabric tailoring to 12th scale in the way that that still Hasbro has not, and a lot of 12th scale companies don't. Their best sculpt is a Popeye. Their Popeye, I think, is their but far and away. My favorite of theirs, they're Fantastic Four with just in interchangeable pieces on Reed Richards.
I mean, that's the only one that tempted me. I mean, the price ultimately pushed me back, but but just because Fantastic Four, that's my thing. I would love to. The only thing that I think that no company has gotten completely right yet is a Doctor Doom. And I have yet to get my absolute ideal Doctor Doom yet. I'm
at any
the
scale.
Mezco one. The closest is the Hasbro right now, and it's a mask issue for me. It's the approach to the armor. Like and I tend to skew like an old school. So the closest, in fact, it's on my desk because it is the closest right now. Is the retro Hasbro?
Oh, nice, yeah. So you like, of course, the square eye holes. But angular.
Yes, I want basically the Byrne early '80s look is the sweet spot for me. And also I don't need a complicated armor. I don't. Everyone decides to go so complicated with the armor.
Too many rivets.
too many rivets. Too many, and suddenly we got swirls and fancy designs and etched.
Yeah.
And you don't need to overcomplicate it. You just keep it nice and stylized.
Well, I think what matters a lot, and it's exactly what you would imagine, as we'll probably be seeing, what like the MCU Doctor Doom will look like, but it'll probably have a lot of runes, and they're adding extra design to the green tunic to make it look more layered and visible on screen. But in a figure, all you need is just some wiring, right? Just to create folds and let shadows do the contour, or the work of the contour, the shading that you get from the comic.
Right. The one thing that I've seen, like in 6 scale, they've started to go to a bit, is I would love a line, and it's hard to do. I mean, Hasbro's not going to be able to do it really with a mass market that often. Is have artist series. Is you saw it a little bit when DC Direct, I think was it DC Direct that was doing their like Batman Black and White, where they would have very specific, like here's a Mike Mignola Batman.
Right, yes.
And it's very specifically that. This is a representation of that. And I would love to have just artist approaches to specific characters in any scale, really. Just to see someone lean into that. Pick your iconic characters. Superman is an easy one to do because you have
so many different versions. Yeah,
do a Dan Jurgens, do a John Byrne, do a Walt Simonson, it would be I would like a Walt Simonson Thor.
Hmm.
So 1/12, would you say that's what is the scale that you have least of in your collection?
Oh gosh. I have some quarter scale, which is I went through a phase where I was like, ooh, could I be a quarter scale guy? The details on the face and the tailoring are so good, but there aren't enough figures, and again, they just take
And
up so
your
much space.
office said no.
Yeah. So I don't have any third scale, and that's again anything above quarter scale is too big. Third, half scale, one. I don't have any 1-to-1 scale stuff, and there's 1/35th scale is a standard size for like mech stuff, and I have a handful of things in that. But yeah, that sweet spot of 6th and 12th is. And then there's, like you said, there's so much stuff in between. There's 8th, and then there's 10-inch scale, and there's all this stuff. And that's, at some point, if I can't mix the accessories, it's not fun for me, because I also love kit bashing stuff together.
Right. No, I mean, you may get to this in the remaining categories, but if you're not, I'm curious about this, is because you are a model builder, and you've made stuff yourself. Do you still have the time, the energy, the inclination to dig into a model kit and build stuff for yourself? And how much of that stuff still remains in your displays of stuff that you've done?
Oh, it's a smaller and smaller fraction. I have more kits in boxes than I have completed kits. That ratio has shifted now to, in my garage, just stuff that are like awaiting the kids to grow up so I can do. And that includes Lego also, right? Like just, number of Lego boxes outnumbers a number of completed sets. There's some that I have that are like, I know they're not in the garage because I know I want to tackle them next. And a lot of it is the SnapFit stuff was great. The Bandai SnapFit kits, the Kotobukiya SnapFit kits, Meng Models has some Dune ones that are just really great. The injection molding is so good on them, and especially when we're talking about vehicles. Like I love painting vehicles. I love spaceships. I like vehicles, and I find that much easier to paint than like a character model or a monster.
What was the last one you did?
I did a Dune Ornithopter, and I'm just about to finish an Atreides one. I did a Harkonnen one a year ago now, and then I have a few like diorama pieces that I have like reference folders for. So I used to make dioramas for 6-scale stuff, and I just got some Star Trek 6-scale figures in from X06 that I want to build. I'm going to put out there. I want to build the engineering table, the table, what's called the pool table that Jordy works on on Enterprise D. I want to build that at 6 scale as a diorama, as a place to.
I'm assuming that's already been modeled.
Figures around. No, it has not.
No one has modeled that in the community yet?
I don't think so. There's a version of it at 12 at 6-inch scale, but doesn't have the fidelity I need. And the impetus for me tackling projects is always like, what can I bring to it, or what innovation or what thing I think I can make that doesn't make this just like a simple 3D printed part. And it's because I have the access to the UV printer, the UV printer that I reviewed. We have it at the office, and it allows me to print on hard surfaces like acrylic, right. And I have a laser cutter, and so I could easily cut that pool table top with and use a vector graphics program to model out the LCARS design. And I could then print out basically the Translight graphic on acrylic and light it from underneath and have it look like, the interface panel.
Does any of that still exist? Any of his console?
The consoles? No, they were auctioned off in 2010.
So they're in private collections.
Auction. They're in private collections. Yeah.
Do we know?
You know what I have? I have the auction catalogs, which are great reference.
So do you know anybody? Has the community tracked down any of these? Is there a database of people trying to figure out who owns these things?
I don't think there is. I do personally know private collectors who have a lot of original Star Trek stuff.
And is it all just Dave Mandel?
It's not. No. And I don't know Dave personally, but I know he's a big collector. I know he and Ryan are, they have their podcast. Yeah, I mean, we visit the folks at Prop Store a bunch, and they introduce us to people, and I personally know some from the forums. there are many fewer of those out there. So it's like there are some well-known names. But sometimes, someone will just randomly spend $1,000 or $2,000 buying a piece of prop history, and maybe that's the only piece they have, and that's it. And they'll kind of disappear into the ether.
And it's just in the basement. It's just
it's
next to the bar.
Yeah.
Their engineering bar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is there anything that along those lines that you would love to get 15 minutes in your camera with?
Oh my gosh. Oh, absolutely. But again, we go back to like, I've been very lucky enough to have been to prop stores headquarters many times, both their UK headquarters and their LA office, their warehouse, and I've seen so many original props. And we shoot videos there all the time. We'll be there, in a couple months or so. And so often, especially from the 80s and 90s, things are so crunchy. They're just they don't have the fidelity that your mind's eye put through the 640 by 480 CRT monitor you're watching these shows in. So much of that was in your imagination. It's different now with like HD stuff. So like, the high production quality of movies like Blade Runner 2049, right? All the props from Blade Runner 2049 they held up to the eye. The stuff made by Weta Workshop, and I have a few Weta Workshop pieces, shields and stuff like that. Those all hold up, so I don't know if there's a dream prop that I would, oh God. I will say the most awestruck recently I have been to a prop. We didn't actually shoot a video about this, and at some point we will. I got to touch the mother computer from Alien, the mother computer console.
So where was
including, that? It was in a private collection, and including the keyboard, the semiotic standard keyboard, which is hand penned and penciled glyphs on the keycaps, and that was a breathtaking moment. I don't have many of those moments because I can be detached and professional at work, and there's a job to get done. We're there, but that was one where I had to take a deep breath and savor the moment and touch the keys.
What did you type? What
I did not
you hit?
Press down on the keys. I just put my hands on
in
the
your
surface.
mind, in your heart.
Yes, yeah, and I don't know the semiotic standard by heart either. So,
is there anything when you looked at that was the most surprising to you?
I mean, again, how crunchy everything is. All the borders are just cut pieces of tape that create the stencil outlines. The actual keycaps, it was all like hand penned in lettering. Nothing was electrotype printed out. It just needs to be good enough. And in my mind's eye, watching that movie, it looked like an industrial piece of equipment, right? It looked perfect. And it was just so much more handmade in person.
Well, so much of that stuff you didn't get lingering beauty shots on those.
Yeah. But I think the keyboard, we didn't bother. We absolutely.
Yes. But so many of those things traditionally you wouldn't have a hold, and you wouldn't have the resolution if you had a hold to really see it. Even if you had on film projection at the time, you weren't getting a great view of that. Even though the resolution was there in the film, you weren't getting it in the projection. Yeah. So
it's true, absolutely true. Yeah. I mean,
which is really affected. I mean, that's the one thing that's nice in what you've detailed when you've gone out and shot these videos for tested. A lot of people can find on the channel is when it's people having to go and recreate it for sequels or redos or whatever, and going, oh, we actually had to go in and put in details and resolution and things that were not there. Like if we just shot the prop as it existed, if we just had access to it, it wouldn't look very good on screen right now.
And every prop build for a sequel or reboot, it's a conversation with the past. These prop builders, incredibly talented modelers and painters, they're all fans themselves, and they are getting to, as they do the work, they are echoing and in conversation with the original prop makers who, when they're making it, may or may not have been aware that they were going to make something that stood the test of time, that would have that kind of resonant impact. And
Oh, you mean it's not
their shared
machined
connection.
aluminum? It was carved out of wood?
Or foam. Yeah. If you're lucky. Yeah, foam's lighter.
And the color is not what you thought it was.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Okay, I do want to move on. I only have so much time left. I got a couple more things. Two things I'm going to go through relatively quickly. These are less mass manufactured things, but things that I found and encountered at conventions that I've been lucky enough to go to. So conventions that we used to do a lot. I used to be able to go to a lot more conventions, but two conventions that I have not been in a long time, and partly is because the timing doesn't work out, partly is because of kids. One is Designer Con. Have you ever been to Designer Con, Ken?
I have not, but I've heard you wax on about it.
It used to be my favorite one. It was in Pasadena for the longest time, and then they moved to Las Vegas, and I just haven't been since they moved to Las Vegas. It's in the fall, November of every year, right before the holidays, and it's graphic artists, it's sculptors, it's toy makers, custom toy makers, and I went through a whole designer toy phase, like vinyl toy phase also. Back in the mid aughts, it was, when Kid Robot was a big thing. And you had a lot of graffiti artists and street artists working with companies to make, these kind of mass manufactured toys, but with their highly personalized aesthetic. Like I love that.
Metacom got into doing that.
Exactly. And one of my favorites, I have his Mondo Godzilla, but oh my God, I'm a blank for his name now, but he did a King Kong that was called King Corpse, and it was like a King Kong that was half zombified, and it was one of my favorites. And he did a Godzilla version for Mondo, and I have it, and it's one of my favorites. But that's not what I want to choose. This is actually from a tattoo artist named Das Frank, and I just was wandering Designer Con and saw the sculpt, and I loved it. And it's still one of my favorite pickups from a convention ever. It sits in my living room under the TV. And for listeners out there, this is a mashup between the Twilight Zone character from Eye of the Beholder and kind of a classical Venus sculpture from like Greco-Roman era. And this is just a cold cast resin piece. Apparently was his very first physical sculpt that he made as an artist. He was previously just a 2D artist and sculpted this out of plaster as a part of a gallery show, and then was inspired to then make a limited number to bring to Designer Con. Learn cold casting, which is a process by which you mold your product, your sculpture, and then you line the inside of the mold with metallic powder, so that when you pour the resin, the surface of the resin gets coated in metallic powders, which gives you the ability to actually do some polishing on it. And so it looks like
a bronze
sculpture. Absolutely. But it's just a resin, and it doesn't weigh as much as bronze. But as a sculpture, I love it. And it is a perfect example of the type of creativity and unique design that you get at a Designer Con, where you find interesting mashups of art. This, along with, there's one that's a Venus de Milo, that different artist, but it's a kind of a marble Venus de Milo, but with Leia as the head from Star Wars. We have one of those in our house as well, and I loved just those mashups. My wife and I are big fans, and so this one from Das Frank, 6-inch sculpture. I think he did an 8-inch and a 12-inch version eventually. Still one of my favorite things.
And how long ago was that you picked that up?
Oh gosh, this must have been 2016, 2017.
Oh, geez.
Maybe. Yeah.
So
many years ago.
A decade old.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. And I still love it. Still one of those things that scares the kids, and I love that it scares the kids.
Is there a maker's mark on that? Is it
he didn't sign it. No, it was literally his first sculpting project, and you can even tell like the back has the seam on the mold is there. You can tell.
And is he still doing work? Is he still in the?
I don't think he's doing any more sculpture work. I think it's just tattoo art is his primary thing. Yeah, but this is just a one-off. It's one of those things that like it's striking. It reminds me of a moment in time going to these shows, and no one has ripped it off to do something similar with that idea. You could have imagined someone doing like a pop culture mashup lineup of busts or something, but no one's taken the idea and run with it. And so, this is the one that sits in my collection that I love.
So if you had to choose between a unique piece that was designed by a designer or a licensed piece,
yes,
what's your heart going to go to?
It really depends on the manufacturer. If you're saying that's a licensed piece built to the standards of like a custom, painter and sculptor, like I would say a licensed piece. I would say like the perfect in art piece. I covet that. There's an aspect of what you can do because it's mass market, that you can get the quantities at scale to source the right fabrics and to make something that no individual person would reasonably be able to do themselves unless it was like thousands and thousands of dollars, like to make just that limited, 1,000 or 2,000 quantity of these things at the highest possible mass market
even
quality.
prop stuff. Talking like Juan Company and what they're doing, and
that's what I love. I love that, and it's also it's the shared enthusiasm. Like part of collecting is anticipation. Part is scrutiny, it's discussion, it's obsession, it's heartbreak, it's disappointment. Like all of these go into collecting. And, part of the journey of the pre-order, of seeing the first photos of a sculpt, being teased on a license, and and realizing that, the company that you want to have the license got the license and is working with this artist that you follow on Instagram that they've worked with to design it. And they've listened to the community feedback and then redesigned, the sculpt. They're adding more details that were discovered because the original costume was discovered. Like that's all the journey in making a toy. Like,
and then
that's
you get that thing, and then you
get the thing, and
then you realize
like,
some other company did it so much better, and then you're like, oh no, I need to get another one.
But that's all part and parcel of the journey of collecting.
Is there something that for you look at right now, and it's the first thing you look at that you go, I do want a better version of that?
I'm looking around the room. What do I want a better version of? Gosh.
Because we all have those things that we look at and go, I'm glad I have at least some iteration of it. That there's some version of it exists in my collection. I just wish it was better. Because there's some things that just won't get made, or like they're niche characters that we're lucky we even got one of.
It's true. I'm hard pressed to say right now.
And it's also why, people customize. It's why people decide to put a wash on a thing going, oh, this makes it that much better.
Yeah. I got so much Star Wars stuff, so much Marvel stuff, so much Star Trek stuff.
Has anyone, so here's a question, because this goes back to, I hope everyone goes back, and including you, to remember that you did it, watches the Force 5 episode that we did, where you talked about your Star Wars choices. You chose 5 Star Wars specific collectibles. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we have not gotten a better version of, really, is a 1/6 scale Admiral Akbar.
It's true.
And the one you chose was the one that Hasbro / Kenner put out in the late 90s.
Still love it. Yeah. The tunic is great.
And we've not gotten, in all these years, of all the aliens that have been done in that scale, that is, to this day exists as, and I will say that there is a better 6 scale, but it is not mixed media. And I maybe I told you about this time, maybe it hadn't been released yet, but Gentle Giant, R.I.P., put out in their statue line a 6 scale Admiral Akbar that looks great in display. And his uniform isn't clothy enough that you can't get away with a statue being fine enough, but I have him sitting on my desk right now, and you look at it and go, that's a great representation on my desk of that thing, but it's not opposable Admiral Akbar in that
exactly
scale.
the character that I think Sideshow, which also has Star Wars license, would do, because they have their bounty hunter line that they've been expanding, and a lot of the side characters in Star Wars that feels like, if Hot Toys is going to do it, that Sideshow would have picked up the task to make an Akbar.
I'm sending you, and you can tell me your reaction. I just took a quick shot on my desk of the character poses. I just sent you a text with the photo, and you can just give me your reaction to how it looks just sitting in that mix.
Let me just see. Open up. Oh, it looks great. That's a great paint job.
Right?
Oh, yeah. And you know what? We have that Leia, and that's exactly that. Hoth Leia is one where
and he has sort of that almost, not vinyl but foam sort of overlay that he had for his. Yeah. So it looks fine in statue form.
I think you're right, but you can't. I mean, gosh,
but the scale is perfect. It's 6 scale.
Yeah, it's a hard one to do, because I would also want the eyes to be posable. And those are big eyes, and you would have to engineer an interesting way to get into the head to move the eyes. Although the eyes might be big enough that you could just pose it by moving the eyes from the outside by pressing against it. I have a rolling ball that way. And that leads me to my next thing that I can share with you. Yeah. Because this is.
I entirely knew that this would be a say. This is.
This is maybe like. Designer Con was the last convention I talked about, and the Das Frank Eye of the Beholder Venus mashup was my favorite thing from Designer Con. The other convention that I used to go to, and I haven't been for the past 5 years, and that's because it's the same weekend as Wonderfest, and now I go to Wonderfest, which is in Louisville. It's at the end of this month. It's the model making convention. That's a massive bring together of model shipbuilders, all sorts of modelers, an incredible, 800-piece contests every year. But it's the same weekend as Monsterpalooza, which is a creature and effects and makeup show that's also in Pasadena, in the LA area, and that's also a place where you can buy some great retail items. And one effects company that I used to follow, and I don't even think they operate anymore, but they were based out of China. They were called Luster Effects Studio, and I had been such a big fan of the stuff they'd shared on social media. And one year, this again, I'm just going to say 2018 or 2017. It's all in that era.
Time has got weird as far as referencing things.
They were invited to Monsterpalooza to exhibit there, and they were brought in, and I was so shocked and surprised to see them there. And I had to pick up the thing that I love. And so I have it, and this has been on my shelf at eye level since then. Oh. This is a hyper-realistic Daruma. And if you're just listening to the audio, this is a Daruma is like a Japanese like character, I guess. It's like a character of luck, but you might have seen them in like Japanese restaurants, but they're like it's like you just see the face in this kind of like a rounded egg-shaped body, and this effects studio sculpted and made a silicone hyper-realistic sculpt, and this is massive. I'm holding this thing. It's got to be like at least 12 inches tall, 14 inches. Yeah, it's about 12 inches tall, but it's made out of silicone. This is as creepy and realistic as it looks, with punched hair for the mustache, for the beard, for the eyebrows. And the segue is because the eyes here are posable just by moving them. And having them offset and kind of moved around a little bit make it look even crazier and funnier. And then over the edge, like, it's kind of separated from the casting here, so it's a little delicate. But this is one of my absolute favorite things I ever picked up.
At first glance, it looks like a cross between if you put Hoggle in a original Battlestar Galactica flight helmet.
Helmet, that's right. Yeah, it does have that look, the same shape as the pyramid, like the trapezoidal helmet. Yeah, that's amazing. Yes, yes. But it has that kind of puppet, hyper real puppet sculpt. And this is silicone.
Well, and the silicone, I mean, having that just goes a long way towards giving you that sort of light scatter to...
Yeah.
Now how
eyes.
delicate is that?
It's delicate enough that this lives behind glass. That I don't want to touch this. I don't want to get dust on it.
What do the kids think about it? Are the kids scared of it, or are they...
So here's the thing, Ken.
Your kids have never been in your office. No.
they don't know this room exists. My office is on the ground floor of my house, next to the garage, and the doors closed, and the hallway light is always off. They go to the garage. They've been to the garage to go get their scooters or go to the backyard, but it's like in The Shining, where the architecture of the building does not make sense for them. With the space that this room exists in is somehow does not register as a place that should exist in their brain.
Are you curious about? Because you have 2 children,
and they must never know.
Are you curious about the mythology that they're going to build up between them? Of where does Dad go? What is? I hear there's a secret room. Is there?
I think they just think I go to like an office off-site, right? That, when I have to go to the garage, I go to the car and drive away somewhere. They're young enough that I don't think they're getting to the point where, it should 2 and 2 should add up.
It's like one of those things where people suddenly realize the house they live in, wait, there's a window on the outside.
That's it. Exactly. Where is that window supposed to be?
That
what's
attic window where you're going,
closet?
I've never seen a window when we've gone in the attic.
Yeah. Yeah. At some point it will happen. I dread that day because the sanctuary
it's going to be,
for
your kids, it's going to be like entering the TARDIS.
It's 100%. It's Narnia, right? It's they're going to go through the wardrobe.
Yes. The Lion, the Witch, and Dad's office.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. But for now, thankfully, I still have a place.
Are you ever concerned that they will stumble upon it without you there?
I dread that so much. Yeah. I've conditioned them.
One of them does and goes. The other one goes, oh my God, I found something. I don't know if it's real.
Yeah, exactly.
I need you to come with me.
Yeah. It's why I have the Duramo doll protecting the space and guarding. And
there's a monster in there.
It's grotesque, Ken. But yeah,
that is remarkable.
I really want to showcase. This is like maybe the
have
thing
you
that has the most.
Have you showcased that before?
I did an interview with them before I picked this up, but that was again years ago. And the thing is, I don't think this company even exists anymore. Like their studio stopped posting years ago, and they stopped putting work. So all I have is like the memory of my interaction with them and the post I liked, back then, and this piece here as an artifact of,
How many 1-to-1 pieces do you have in your collection?
I guess that's true. This is human scale. I have a few helmets, right? I have a few Star Wars helmets,
phaser,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hand props that way. But not that many. It's like, I have a few things here and there. I thought about, so I have, What a Workshop did a line of, blasters by Greg Broadmoor, the Dr. Gorbort blasters.
Oh, I have one of those.
Yes. And I treasure those because I have 2 of them. I have a tiny mongoose that's like a more of a small little tiny
I can't remember what mine
pistol.
is.
And then I have like a more sci-fi Flash Gordon like blaster one.
That big, maybe 14, 16 inches.
Oh, nice. Is it red?
It's just been sitting on a shelf.
Oh, I love. They're so beautifully designed and made. So yeah,
I'll send you a picture. So you can tell me which one it is, because
okay, yeah.
It's just been sitting on a shelf since I got it.
a lot of companies like Wedo was smart because they had the model to design it, and they made a 1:1 size, and they also made like a tiny, quarter scale version that you can just put on a shelf. And so I have a few of those also, but not a ton of 1:1. I have my lightsaber hilt, right? I think we talked about.
What's the hilt was your go-to?
I have an Obi. No, it's a Jedi Luke hilt. But it's a modern one with like a NeoPixel, so you can actually attach a blade, and it'll do the animations, it'll do the sound effects, it'll do all detection, like the gyro detection, all that stuff. So it's a high tech one. I really love it. Yeah.
So,
but not yeah.
So not really. I mean, would you do? I mean, it gets into a space issue. You're not going to have like a 1:1 Darth Vader. That's going to take up a lot of real estate. You're not going to have a Robbie the Robot or.
No.
But if you could pick 1:1, single 1:1 piece of that sort of scale,
of like a character scale, like a character scale,
yeah.
Oh, it would be it'd be a BB-8, no doubt about it. I would want to be a Wally or a BB-8, probably BB-8. Yeah, I would want a BB-8. I love the BB-8s I've seen at conventions and the ones that actually roll around and animate. I mean, it's just some people love R2 and some people grew up with R2, and R2 is adorable and an icon, right? But I love BB-8.
But then you get into that territory of. But then do you need it to be functional?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, static BB-8 doesn't do anything. No, static is nothing. Yeah, no. It would absolutely need to, at the very least, articulate and have lights, if not actually roll around. I'd be okay with the BB-8 stationary with lights that could just spin on its, one axis, and the head could move around. So it's more like a display animatronic, right? Like something in a theme park, like that. I'd be okay with.
Now with the state of 3D printing, I mean, how possible a project would that be for you at this point?
Oh, if I had 2 months of just fettered time, like I could get the files and start printing and get the parts and put together and paint and have a BB-8 in 68 weeks, no problem. Like that's readily accessible. They're computing the files. It's popular enough a character, and there are enough builders out there that there's a standardized set of files. They can easily at least make the shell, and then he's got to make a choice about what motors you want to invest in and what control systems you want to learn to actually get it to operate in some way. So absolutely doable. Yeah. Same with R2s.
Do you have any sort of off the beaten track characters that would be just an emotional favorite for you to have? Again, space is not an issue.
I mean, and here's one where it doesn't need to be that big, but I love the exocomps from Star Trek Next Generation. Do you remember that episode where Data discovers?
I do, and I love them coming back in Lower Decks.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So a 1:1 exocomp, especially.
That seems very doable, and you could hang that up.
Exactly. Yeah, and it wouldn't levitate, and but to have it just have a little bit of personality.
You could get a decent levitating display, right? With like a little arm that's sort
magnet,
of
lets it. It's an arm. Yeah.
If you're just hanging it on the wall and it just needs to have that sort of motion.
Yeah. That's my esoteric Star Trek 1:1 character. No, it's a droid. It's Star Trek's one of their droids, right? In a very Star Trek way.
Which you don't have a lot of in Star Trek.
No, exactly.
Well, I mean, we're going to have to make... So the exocomp seems more doable at this point in this stage of your life as a thing to realize.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the 3D printed version would be good enough, but I'd want to take it to some metal. I want some machine parts, some laser cut parts to make it look like a manufactured thing with real panels. Right.
So at some point on Tested, we're going to get you with enough time to have Norm's projects.
To do a 1/6 scale engineering pool table and then a robotic exocomp at some point.
Someday we're going to see it. Someday we're going to see a Norm's build.
I'm gonna put this guy down.
Yes, I'm surprised. It's like at this point I was like, that's just a weird popcorn bucket.
Oh my goodness, popcorn buckets. That is a deep collecting fandom that I really admire. I appreciate the people who obsess about the limited edition popcorn buckets. Like, it's not my wheelhouse, but I totally get it.
But there are so many of them that if you want a reasonably priced, almost sort of replica display piece, because some of them are they're doing so well, or just novelty. The first one that got me was Disney World, and they have actual scale, or it had at the time because it's all limited, a baby Simba in the beginning of Lion King pose, animated version. So everyone was getting for the photo op of being able to hold up, and it's a baby Simba popcorn bucket in that dangling feet pose, like he's being held. And on the straps, it just looks like you're carrying him, and he's just sort of...
Oh my God. Yeah, that's great. That's great. I mean, popcorn buckets are also partly what's helping save theaters. Theater chains realize that their license is popcorn, a food, right? Food containers. And they can sell an $80 popcorn bucket because it's basically a collectible toy. And they found an audience who will wait in line to buy the thing.
But let's be honest, they are not functional as a popcorn bucket, as
a
food container.
I mean, but they technically have to have a cavity.
Food, yes, they have to have a cavity. But so many of those cavities have corners and bits that you would never want anything greasy in there.
You buy it with a side of popcorn. And the one that I saw most recently that's coming out with Mandalorian Grogu is an AT-AT with Mando on the side kind of climbing it. And the AT-AT is empty, but like it goes all the way hollow through the legs where you're going to get kernels stuck in there. Yeah, so you would never, ever use it. But it has lights and it looks like a large scale AT-AT. And it's like, that is cool. I love that idea. That's a popcorn bucket.
Yeah, Herbie, I mean, the Fantastic Car. The Herbie, the Fantastic Car goes with the 1/6 scale figures. Mm-hmm, not 1/6 scale, the 1/12 scale figures, the 6-inch figures. So, and it looks great. And you're never going to get Hasbro in the economy as it exists right now to be able to do that in that scale. But there it is. There's, and I think they did. Then they do the limo from Thunderbolts as well as a popcorn bucket. Yeah. So I think it's filling a niche. When they actually, have the time to think about it and strategize what to do with that.
I find it more entertaining and fun than Funkos, right? It's just in terms of the complete, for people who collect and try to have complete sets or as many as possible. Like the designs are more interesting. The fact that it can connect them to an experience of like going to a movie theater, right? And the experience of watching, having this shared fun experience like that. I think
they are unwieldy to get at the start of a movie though.
It's true. But like sometimes you watch the movie, you remember the experience, and then you buy the popcorn bucket afterward online.
Well, I mean, there's some that you're not going to have that opportunity because they go so fast. Yeah. I mean, I lined up for that Galactus.
Yeah.
I had to get that Galactus. And and that thing is, and that was one of those, my theater at the time, they've thankfully finally changed it, didn't have assigned seating. So the idea of running back to the car was not really an option.
You had to hold on to it.
So you're sitting there, and I did get the Herbie because you cannot get that Herbie.
I love that Herbie.
Has anyone done like a nice Herbie reproduction?
Fans have. There's a Herbie builder group, and like the BB-8 builders group and the R2 builders group, they are working on different versions because some of the droid builders worked on a version for the red carpet and the tour that was completely different than the one that's at Disneyland for the meet and greets and different than the one that was on production for filming. Solved different problems, had different needs. And so, if you are, it's a levitating droid, right? It doesn't, the physics don't really work for how it's actually designed. But if you're okay having a, 3 wheels at its base, you can do a robotic Herbie. Yeah. It's definitely possible.
That's I want a solid Herbie. That would be my,
and just like that one company tricorder, I want one where you can change the functionality with the cassettes.
Yeah. So he can go into we're going to explore mode. We're going into,
that's right.
Now you're a babysitter mode.
And you need the eyes it's all about the eyes. It's all about the eyes.
Yeah. But as a stopgap for that at a reasonable price, the popcorn bucket is not bad.
Oh, it's great. Has a little projector in it. Yeah. Okay. I got one last thing, right?
Okay.
My sixth thing. I think we've been counting.
Did you choose? Now, did you in any way did you build up to this? Did you save this specifically to be your last thing?
No. This is end up being another category. This was
Okay.
in terms of categories of things I collect. This ended up being the last one. The last thing I collect and have collected for the longest time is pop culture posters. So I do want to talk about posters. You can see behind me, I have Martin Anson, Batman 1966. I have, about 200 posters in my collection in various forms and folios and tubes. Don't have a flat file just yet.
Well, we talked about the poster artist being the connection you made on the one forum.
There
is
you
that
go.
being special to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, Mondo, which we mentioned earlier, which they do a toy license as well. They do the X-Men animated series toys, some Ninja Turtles toys, He-Man toys. They started off, as an offshoot of the Alamo Drafthouse, making alternative movie posters for film runs. And they had a gallery in Austin. This is before they got bought by Funko a couple of years ago. And they used to do, very high demand poster runs, officially licensed, right? So, they would work with the studios either to promote a movie or just to celebrate a movie. And then they had their lineup of artists that they would work with or reach out to create a custom, unique take on a pop culture movie poster. Now this business is like, it's everywhere. Like you have Bottleneck Gallery 1988, which actually just closed their store locations, but you have the New York one. They're this, and a couple of independent ones as well. Of some get official licenses, some don't. But like they all, celebrate really great independent artwork, and the best ones kind of have an intersection of like an art style you really like. So you kind of follow an artist in that world, and then have take. You're hoping for the artist that you like, taking the subject and getting the commission for the franchise that you like, and then you're hoping that their execution is something that surprises and delights you. Right? It's like you want that.
You need the trifecta.
3. Yes, because if it's like, or sometimes if it's a movie or a franchise or a subject matter that you like and the execution is delightful, and then that's good enough. And then I'm learning about the artist, and then I become.
Or even a franchise you might not be interested in. That
sometimes
this is just a stunning piece of artwork. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and then sometimes like the way I also evaluate is these are supposed to be movie posters, right? And they're mostly 24 inch by 36 inches. Some of them are landscape. 18 by 24 is also a common size. 12 by 36 is a unique size. That's more vertical that I also like. But I think of like, what's the difference between a piece of art that would look great on a wall versus a piece of art that would be nice to be as your wallpaper on your phone for a week, right? Saving it as a digital image. And there's plenty of art that I think I love and appreciate. I would absolutely like bookmark it and download a low-res copy to put on my phone,
or have it in a coffee table book to look at.
Exactly. That's a perfect example, right? I would love looking through a copy, and there are plenty of those books I have here, but not necessarily put in a frame and put up on a wall. A further subcategory of these posters that I've been learning more about are private commissions of small runs. So when like Mondo works, and these are all limited run posters, they're screen printed. Most of these are screen printed, and that's a process I also love. So like the artists will work and they'll actually, as opposed to doing a like laser print or a geek clay print, they're actually separating the artwork into discrete colors, and they're maximizing these kind of Pantone colors that you can get. And sometimes you get essentially full color pieces of art like CMYK style, but there's a look and a feel to screen printing on the poster stock that I think is just unique, and the durability of also is really important to me.
And with screen printing, they're going to be unique. Yes,
absolutely. And so they only can make so many. They have a run. There are only so many of these screen printers that work at this size. DL Printing, I believe up in the Pacific Northwest, like they're a big one, but they'll make the screens for a 300 print run of something. And sometimes they're basically in usually the 200 to 300 prints for a limited edition, and they'll do a variant that's 150 or so, right? So you're going to get under 500 total of these prints. And then once they're sold out, they're sold out. That's it. They'll never reprint them again. Sometimes the artwork might find its way into a book or a T-shirt or something. And so I have some of my collection. Like one of the very first popular ones was Ollie Moss. Right, Ollie Moss was he did a lot of ended up working at Valve and video game art for a long time, but he did like these, you call them like visual puns, where he would like create graphic art that would like take a silhouette of a character and merge it with some piece of iconography. And I have his Star Wars set. I have his all three of his original trilogy Star Wars set, which was released by Mondo in 2012, I believe. That's a prized piece of the collection.
And are they framed and hanging up?
Oh, they are framed and hung up in my living room as a centerpiece, and
because
I never
that's the ultimate problem with all of these things. When you,
where do they live? Where do they? Yeah. We have it's the Simpsons joke. Whenever I share a link, to my wife, she sends me the Simpsons. It's like, don't make me tap the sign again. Where's it gonna live? Where's it gonna live? So the Mondo stuff is limited and exclusive, and they're officially licensed, and I love all that stuff. But sometimes collectors will gather together, and when an artist, and it's a popular artist, or when they have a downtime or they're taking commission work, they'll work with a very limited number of collectors, maybe like under 100. Sometimes I've heard like 90 or 60, to pull together money to pay for a dedicated commissioned private commission of a run of pop culture posters. They're never made available to the public. And the only way you can get them is if one of the people who are in on the original run sell it on eBay or on some marketplace or do a trade. And those are far rarer. And I've become more attuned and aware of this limited collection. I have one I wanted to share because this one's been in my living room wall for a long time, since I got it in 2018. And this is from the poster duo of Stan and Vince. They're French artists. I love their composition work. I have a Tron poster by them. They did a great Jurassic Park one. But this is of Dune, Jodorowsky's Dune.
I mean, that's incredible. What was the run on it?
I believe this one was a run of 60.
Oh, geez.
And this was, and they did a variant that was black and white, and this is the full color one. I paid a lot of money. Actually, it says on the bottom, this is a run of 25.
Oh.
This is 23 of 25 made. So only 25 of this screen print exists in the world. And this is before the Denis Villeneuve Dune movie. In 2014, there was a documentary that was released about the movie that never was, Jodorowsky's Dune, and how there was an incredible lookbook of art and storyboards that was created that you can like find reprints of, but how the failed production of this take on Dune yielded Alien, because H.R. Giger and Dan O'Bannon, who wrote Alien, was on this, and it was kind of bore the fruits of the collaborations and of so much of 80s science fiction pop culture. But I love that documentary, and I love this artwork and the composition, and one of those perfect intersections of like, I knew these artists with their work on officially licensed work. I love the subject matter of Dune, and especially this weird variant of Dune, of a movie that never was. This is a movie poster imagined for a film as if it had been made, right? And again, this is all before Dune became, the Dune that we know with Denis Villeneuve today. And then incredible like execution and composition in this full color. So I had to pick it up. It popped up on eBay one day, and I said, "Oh, I'm getting this one." So
was that a secondhand purchase? So you weren't in the original
purchase? No, I've never been lucky enough to be in one of these runs, and I don't know what secret cabal I have to be in to be welcomed into doing these runs. But I hear about them. There are forums, of course, of people who share the art, and then I create my eBay bookmarks, my eBay save searches and email alerts, and keep tabs. And I do have an easy answer for my grail for this one. And there's an artist named Rory Kurtz, who he did incredible Annihilation poster. You can Google his stuff. It's one of the best poster artist. His line work is incredible. But he did a Sigourney Weaver Aliens poster that is exquisite. And it is my dream poster. It's popped up for many thousands of dollars on eBay the one time. And he is also the guy that collects 1/6 scale figures.
Who you refuse to connect with.
I will not bug him at all about his poster artwork. I confirmed it was him. He is a hardcore 6 scale collector.
When he turns around and goes, I'm a huge fan of Tested. I love you, Norm.
Oh,
Why have you never reached out?
Yeah. But his Aliens poster is. I know someone who has it. I don't. The pop culture writer, the movie reviewer for Gizmodo, has that poster, and I've seen it. I've seen a picture of it in his collection.
Because of your love of that artwork,
mm-hmm.
would you ever go to the level of getting, if someone were to do a reproduction of it, or it has to be that original?
It has to be the original.
Run?
It has a reproduction would not have the fidelity. And this is the thing with poster art. I can look at a digital image, and it can be a high-res digital image, but to see the print of it in person, there's always going to be more detail in the actual print that you're not seeing on the screen. The colors will look different. The details will resolve differently. I love going up close and just looking at some of this stuff. And it's a crapshoot sometimes, because what you see on the screen, what you see on your phone when you're making an order, when you're evaluating a piece of art, you're making a bet that the printer is going to match and exceed the expectations, and you're trusting that the artist has collaborated well with the printer to create something that's really special.
So then my question that I have to ask you is not your grail, is what is your intersection of, if you got to choose subject matter, the artist, and the format?
And this is the one I would do a private commission and ask Rory Kurtz to do a limited private run of a Star Trek Next Generation poster.
What era?
Easy as pie. Oh, season 3.
Now, what is it about season 3 that resonates for you?
That's when they change the uniforms.
So it has to be.
It has to be the season 3 and beyond uniforms, but a Star Trek Next Generation poster by Rory Kurtz, and maybe it's. No, I don't even think it needs to be of a specific episode.
But if you got to choose,
have a favorite. Yeah, I see. I have my favorite Star Trek episodes, but I don't think there's any single episode that's like that's the episode I would want a poster of. I think it's the series. It's the bridge crew together on the bridge.
So you just need them on the bridge.
Yeah. Yep. I need the Enterprise.
So then your question is,
well, I don't want to guide this design.
No.
I want the artist.
My question. Yeah. There's only one question, and I'm not saying this as a slight to anyone, because we both know this person. Wesley or no Wesley? Who is your bridge crew? Because you asked for the bridge crew. Who's going to be on that bridge? And obviously, it's got to be a special circumstance if Geordi's up there. It's
going to be Geordi. It's Geordi. Yeah, I want Geordi on. I want Geordi on the con.
So it was I had to ask.
When I think of Rich, I know he doesn't belong. He's not there, but he does sit there sometimes, and I can't not have Geordi in the picture. It'd be Geordi, Data, then Picard, Riker with beard, Troy in uniform, blue full uniform, Dr. Crusher in the back with the jacket, and of course Worf with his sash. In yellow, not red.
And just for giggles, if you were able to add one other character in there, just for funsies, what would you pick? You could pick any. You can go from Wesley to Q. You could put whoever you wanted. That's a favorite character.
That's a good point. No, not Guinan as a reoccurring. Oh, Barclay.
I was just about to say Barclay.
It's going to be Barclay. Yeah, as a fun character. Yeah, Barclay.
But he's peeking around the
exactly.
turbolift doors.
Exactly.
Not
Yeah.
quite invited on the bridge.
Yeah, Guinan's too serious. I was like Ensign Ro, maybe Ro Lauren.
So
She belongs on the bridge.
here's what I would want to
don't care
see.
too much about Tasha.
And speaking of Guinan, and I don't know if anyone's done this yet, give me a Nighthawks version of 10 Forward.
Oh,
Has
I like
anyone have you ever seen that?
Oh, I mean,
So
easily.
you have it's
moody
from
enough.
outside the ship,
Oh.
and you're seeing into
Okay.
10 Forward.
Yeah, there's a French artist, poster artist, that would be the perfect one to do this. Laurent, I can't pronounce the last name. There's an X and a D and a U in there. But yeah, he's an incredible poster artist that would be the one to do this interpretation.
That's what I want. I want 10 Forward Nighthawks.
Yeah, I love it. Green, a little bit of green hue. Yeah, in there. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Who do we get? We need both of these done. And we need ours to be comped. We need our covered. Someone needs to cover it, because I can't imagine that it's inexpensive.
That's what these things. All these obsessions, all these hobbies go deep. But I think we as fans and collectors are better connected and more access to the creators of the things we love, not just the source material, but of the people who are creating the tributes and derivatives and the collectibles more than ever before. And that's part of the journey of Tested, is connecting all those dots and pulling back the curtain and showing that, these are all done, all that creativity, it's all done by people.
And I think it's the beautiful thing about the channel, and I hope anyone watching this knows about Tested and dips into it. It's the sincerity and the enthusiasm with which you approach spotlighting these things. And it certainly doesn't hurt that it's professionally presented either, as far as it, but it is having those moments where you are able just to geek out on a thing. And your enthusiasm's coming through, and that's not B-roll. That's not trimmed. That's not something that's like, oh, well, we need to get a 20-minute runtime, so let's just do the highlights of the thing that we're showing. I think that's the beauty of the kind of stuff that you celebrate on the channel. So it certainly has evolved over the years, but I think in its evolution, it has become delightfully more casual.
We're definitely more comfortable. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think having those moments to just exist and breathe, because so many people are disconnected from these things, or don't have access to these things, or just can't see these things, and it's a nice sort of way to enjoy something that people might not have the funds for, or the space for, or just want to appreciate it from afar. I mean, a lot of these things is like, these channels are virtual, not even virtual. They are. It's the same as going to a museum, and you just want to see and appreciate the thing. You don't have to own it. You don't have to have it, but you want to see the artistry that went into it. And the unique thing is that you present context with a lot of the stuff, which you don't get in a museum. Most of the time you're seeing stuff by artists that have long since passed away. So you're not going to hear from the artists on the creation of these things. So you're scholarly trying to reconstruct what they were thinking or what their approach was, but you weren't there in the moment, or you weren't able to ask those questions. And I think that's a lot of what Tested in real time enjoyably is doing, is having those artists come in and celebrating that. Or just watching how many different ways Adam nearly hurts himself.
Nearly is an important part.
And any given video is a real delight. So the before we leave the posters, before we wrap things up, because this is a thing that I've faced, is so many tubes, so many full tubes. Is how much of your collection do you estimate exists, even if you want to give me percentage wise, exists in tubes, to the point where you haven't seen them in years?
No, I can't do. For posters, got to keep them out of tubes. You got to preserve them by invest in, if not a flat file, a portfolio. You
Okay.
can get
So you have flats. So either
I have
way,
flat. Yes.
either way,
they
that
are
don't
flat.
exist on the wall, probably will never exist on the wall.
They're in binders. They're in these large portfolios that we can flip through. Yeah.
Also, I would love to have the poster displays that used to be in Kmart. Can we get one of those just flip files for the home? Has anyone done a home version of a poster flip file that used to exist in stores?
I just need a flat file I can use as a coffee table that I won't stub my toe on, right? With a clear top, right?
Can we get like you used to have the ability to, like at a jukebox. Can we get a poster jukebox that serves up a different poster into a display?
Oh.
Is it mechanically?
My dream one is like is a coffee table, and it's a flat file, so it's a system of drawers, right? But the top of the flat file, the top of the coffee table is clear, light, so you can always pull the drawer, find the poster you want, and put it on top, and put that piece, the top piece of artwork.
So would you imagine it exists essentially in like a large sort of vinyl sort of slip that it's within? So it's, very sheer, the protector that it's in.
Oh,
so
no, I don't need, I mean, I do have them in the
but
vinyl
meaning
sheer
the ability
stuff.
to be able to pull that out and slide in when you're rotating out that thing, and it's protected. You don't ever have to take it out.
Just the top drawer is just whatever the top poster is always visible.
So
that's okay. It exists in storage.
Do you actively curate? Do you actively go in and like change out your displays? Or how long has that poster been hanging behind you? Is what I'm saying.
This has been up since 2018. That poster probably almost as long. I don't change as much as I should, and I want to, because once I find something I'm happy with, I stick to it. And it's the same with figures. I find a pose I like, and I love staring at it, and it's hard to force myself into a repose day, which, if people don't know, it's the tradition of having a regular cadence of taking your figures, getting new accessories, swapping out the hands, and giving it a new pose, refreshing it up. I mean, they're posable. That's why it's not a museum
do a
pose.
Nice dusting.
Yeah, and give it a new personality. Because once I find a pose I like, it's like, oh man, this is how I imagine the character. Arms relaxed here, arms tense here. It's
and there's nothing like that fear of losing that and finding, no, I really should have left it. I really should have left it.
It's hard to go back. But you got to do it. It's part of collecting. You got to do it.
It's like maybe another degree on that head tilt. Maybe that'll fix it. Maybe that'll.
It's always.
What brings the character out?
Yeah.
In the piece.
What angle, what lens, when you photograph it, brings that character out.
That's the
whole other piece.
So then what's the poster that you're heartbroken that you still don't have hanging up that you really should have years ago?
Oh, I mean, it's the one the aliens one, right?
No. That's in your collection. That's in your collection right now. That listen, that just needs to I got to get up on the wall. I love it so much. Why is it not hanging on my wall? Why have I not found a place for this?
I have there's an artist. What's his name? Mike. He plays video games with Will a bunch. Mike Mitchell, and he did a whole series of kind of stylized, almost painted cartoon like portraits on the side, like of famous characters. You see stuff just on the side, facing left or right, of Star Wars characters, of Marvel characters, and it was a whole I want to say 18 by 24 portrait series, maybe even smaller than that. So I have one of Leia. We have that on our mantle in our living room. But I have one of MODOK. And it's big. It's 24 inches by 24 inches. And
I'm looking at a MODOK on my desk right now.
And I have that Hasbro MODOK, or the Marvel Legends one. I love that guy. Love it. It's a great one. And Sideshow teased a MODOK, a Hot Toys MODOK that they prototype but never put to manufacture. But I love MODOK as a character, and I love that poster, but it doesn't belong. There's no room it belongs in. And so, It's just one that like lives in the
What you need to
binder.
do, you need to go ahead and finally do it. You frame it and you hang it on the ceiling for when you just lean back and you're deep in thought. You look up and there's MODOK looking back down at you.
That's right.
That needs to be your contemplation poster. The one that sits when you just look up and reflect on everything.
I also have a Rory Kurtz Gundam that he did. That's incredible. And I have a variant with Japanese text. Sometimes they'll do like the poster with the international version,
right?
And I always love an international poster.
So really, you just need to work out the same way you have a repose. You need to do a rotation schedule on your posters.
100%. I know. Yep, it's true. It's absolutely true.
These are all the things.
At least in the office.
On the
Maybe
list
not
of
in the
all
living
the
space.
things. Because you don't want to have it in the future when someone's going through your stuff going, why do you never hang these things? Why do you even have these? What was the point of all these posters if you never even hung them up?
Let me tell you, no one's going to care about your stuff more than you. More than you, me. So it's not for you. It's for me.
Everything will be questions when we're gone. That's the thing. Is everyone, why did he save this? What does this even mean? Why is this post-it note still on here?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for putting it to podcast form and having me on, Ken. This has been a lot of fun.
This is exactly what I wanted it to be. Everyone should check out Tested. Who hasn't? Everyone should follow you on Blue Sky and Instagram and the places where it makes sense to follow people now, wherever those may be. So I'm going to leave you with one final question. And this is just a pure Tested. This is a tech question for you. What is the one piece of technology that frustrates you still because it is not where you believe it could and should be?
Oh God, it's VR headsets for sure. I love VR so much, and they're not there. We are years and years away from them being a viable.
What does it need to be for you to be where you want it to be?
They need to be lighter. It needs to be. It needs to be. It needs. I'm not even talking about the price. It just needs. They need to be more comfortable to wear. They need to be as comfortable to wear as sunglasses. Or at the very least,
but you're always going to be having to deal with that issue of immersion, right? I mean, the whole point of a VR headset is it's got to block out the actual reality.
Yeah, so and there's mixed reality, and yeah, so maybe it's the AR glasses that I'm looking forward to the most. The VR glasses, they also need to be comfortable to wear for long periods of time. Like I love the Vision Pro; it's just not comfortable to wear with the battery pack for longer than the battery will last.
And what do you want? What do you want it to do? What for you needs to be the function? Do you want it for entertainment? Do you want it for
I love it for entertainment. I love it. I love watching movies in it. I love it watching movies in it. I wish it was more comfortable to watch an IMAX style screen in because I have a big TV and it's not as good as watching a movie with a virtual screen that's the size of the living room wall.
What's the headset that has the best resolution right now?
It's there's some ones made overseas that have technically higher resolution than the Vision Pro. Galaxy XR is technically higher, but the Vision Pro is the best processor. And so it's just like it's not just a screen, it's like it's the fastest, most responsive, most robust interface. And I mean, used ones that you can get for half of what Apple's asking for, but it's still way too expensive, way too heavy.
Well, at some point we're in the same place. You'll have to give me a demo.
Yeah,
absolutely. And show me around it.
Absolutely. You bet.
Well, this has been a delight. I hope everyone has enjoyed our journey through what's going to be a really fascinating estate sale for both of us.
Wait a minute.
You got two choices. Either they're going to sell it or they're going to throw it out. That's the only two choices.
That's true. Yeah, you can't take it with me.
Or you start giving it away long before then and find a home. You rehouse it before then. There's very few options in any of this
Open
stuff.
to trades.
Yeah. Yeah, you really want that Aliens poster. I want to thank everyone for watching this. This is the really awkward part. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing to the channel or become a patron by going to patreon.com/Ken Plume. That'd be swell. Not a lot of people do that. And that would be really nice because it helps make things like this happen. So that would be extra fun. And there's stuff on there and exclusives that people can have access to. We're gonna check it out. That'd be nice. Even at the dollar level, you get access to all the exclusives that are on there. So hopefully that's an incentive for people to check it out and follow on all the social media. It's all down. There are links. But I appreciate it, and Norm, I appreciate you doing this. And I hope when we do the next thing, you remember that we did this.
Depends how many years down the line, and how late at night it is.
We're gonna have this recurring thing where we just start going through our collections just to remind ourselves that we have things.
Oh, I love it! I love it! I need someone to talk to about this.
Well, bye everybody. This is the awkward part where I find a place to stop. So I can't find the button.